Chapter 4474. This was too shocking. Ling Hu Dai would never have thought that with Kong Shinmu's cultivation and the grade of the divine dragon blood, he could actually kill a high-ranked devil general. Although high-ranked devil generals were nothing in her eyes, Ling Hu Dai herself was at the peak of the 9th level of the rebirth tribulations realm, and the grade of the divine dragon blood had reached the 8th level of the dragon emperor. With such strength, if she wanted to deal with a high-ranked devil general, she could finish the other party off with a finger. But what was Kong Shinmu's cultivation level? The 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. The grade of the divine dragon blood of the 6th level of the Dragon King. This bit of strength. To be honest, if it were anyone else, they would not even be able to deal with a middle-ranked devil general. Even a middle-ranked devil spirit would find it difficult to deal with them. But Kong Shinmu had killed a high-ranked devil general. This was at least 4 or 5 levels higher than a dragon martial artist of the same level. Kong Shinmu's level of challenging someone of a higher level was 7 or 8 levels higher, or even more. How are you going to split the demon hunting points for this high-ranked devil general's demonic core? Ling Hu Dai's eyes shone with a strange light. When she looked at Kong Shinmu, there was a hint of provocation in her eyes. Kong Shinmu did not dare to look at her eyes. He only said, "Me 40%, my friends 30%, Qin Xiaoye and the others 30%. Okay. Ling Hu Dai nodded and glanced at Qin Xiaoye. It was obvious that she was unwilling. After all, she was naturally unhappy that she had to exchange the demon hunting points for the students of Donghuang Yonggu College. But this was a high-ranked devil general that Qin Xiaoye had helped Kong Shinmu kill. She had no reason not to give it to her. After all, it was just one demon hunting point. Soon, the demon hunting points for the high-ranked demonic core were exchanged. After Qin Xiaoye and the others obtained 30% of the demon hunting points, they bade farewell to Kong Shinmu and left. They were students of Donghuang Yonggu College, and it was not convenient for them to stay in Emperor Shi's office for too long. She wanted to interact more with Kong Shinmu, but she felt that Ling Hu Dai, the powerful dragon emperor, seemed to have some enmity towards her, so she could only take her leave. After Qin Xiaoye left, Kong Shinmu took out the corpses of high-ranked devil generals, middle-ranked devil generals, and the devil cores of middle-ranked devil generals, exchanging them for demon hunting points. The corpse of a high-ranked devil general was still quite valuable. The demon hunting points that could be exchanged for were equivalent to the devil core of a middle-ranked devil general. As for the pitch-black ball-shaped demonic weapon that Kong Shinmu had obtained, he took it out and exchanged it for demon hunting points. Right now, he did not need things like the demonic dragon weapon. Even if he wanted to use it for himself, he would have to wait for a long time before he could wait for a powerful weapon refiner to forge the demonic dragon weapon. If he exchanged it for demon hunting points, he could increase his own strength right now. Are you sure that you want to exchange this demonic weapon for demon hunting points, and not forge the demonic dragon weapon at half price? When Ling Hu Dai heard Kong Shinmu's plan, she looked a little surprised. She advised him with a serious expression. The demonic dragon weapon can increase one's battle strength by quite a bit. For example, if your great desolate devil sword is merged with a demonic core to become a demonic dragon weapon, it can increase its power by at least 30%. But forging the demonic dragon weapon, doesn't it take at least half a year? Kong Shinmu smiled bitterly and said, I can't wait that long. I might as well exchange it for demon hunting points and increase my own strength first. This was only limited to Kong Shinmu. If it was someone else, they would definitely choose to merge their own dragon weapon to forge the demonic dragon weapon. This was because Kong Shinmu's utilization of demon hunting points was extremely high. His devouring power could be used 100% of the treasures he devoured or other cultivation resources he devoured. But others could not. Hence, to Kong Shinmu, there was no need for him to wait for the demonic dragon weapon. How about this? Teacher Ling Hu Dai squinted her eyes and smiled, revealing a pair of cute little canine teeth. How about you give me this demonic weapon at half price? I have some demonic cores now, but I still need a little more before I can merge them with my holy dragon weapon. With this demonic weapon of yours, it'll be just right. I won't have to go out and run by myself. What do you think? These words made Kong Shinmu a little surprised. If he gave it to Ling Hu Dai at half price, Kong Shinmu's gains would be halved. It would be the same as using it to forge the demonic dragon weapon, except that he would be forging it for Ling Hu Dai. As compensation, I'll give you this. Ling Hu Dai threw out a ring from her bosom. The ring made 2 circles in the air and flew into Kong Shinmu's hand. This is? Kong Shinmu looked at the silver ring with a strange expression. This is a protective ring. It's a heaven-grade dragon weapon. Ling Hu Dai said, this protective ring can store the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. When you need it, it can activate a defensive method and build a defensive barrier. The strength of this defensive barrier is almost equivalent to a peak reincarnation tribulation realm expert on the 5th floor of the Dragon Emperor. It should be enough to protect your life in a battle. Moreover, this protective ring can be recharged. You don't need to care about it. Just leave it in the air and it will automatically absorb the spiritual qi of heaven and earth in 7 days and activate its defensive method again. These words made Kong Shinmu feel a little tempted. This is something I used before. I'll give it to you now. Take it as an exchange for the demonic weapon. What do you think? Ling Hu Dai asked. All right. A heaven-grade dragon weapon was still very useful to Kong Shinmu. After all, a divine dragon weapon was a little far from him. The demon hunting points he needed to exchange for it was not something he could obtain in a short period of time. Even if he killed a high-ranked devil general and a middle-ranked devil general this time, it was still a long way from exchanging for a divine dragon weapon. As for the rising dragon marrow, he calculated that he had just enough demon hunting points left. At the same time, Xiao Yinhua and the other 3 had also obtained quite a lot of demon hunting points. Compared to the effort they had put in the battle, they felt that the demon hunting points they had obtained were terrifying. These were all given to them by Kong Shinmu. In reality, if the points were distributed according to contribution, Kong Shinmu really did not need to give them so many points. However, this was also Kong Shinmu's kind intentions. If they became stronger, it would also give Kong Shinmu a greater sense of security in the battlefield of the Void Crack in the future. Lingyun Protective Ring. That's its name. Ling Hu Dai passed the protective ring to Kong Shinmu. Then she said with a smile, remember to wear it on you. Don't hide it in your storage space. Otherwise, it will not be able to absorb spiritual qi of heaven and earth and will not be able to store spiritual qi. Kong Shinmu nodded. After a slight hesitation, he put the Lingyun protective ring on his right hand. At that moment, he felt as if there was a force enveloping his body, giving him a strong sense of security. It was able to withstand a full-powered attack from a peak reincarnation tribulation realm expert at the 5th layer of the Dragon Emperor. Chapter 4475. Soon, Kong Shinmu came out of the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. He exchanged his points for a rising dragon marrow. Apart from that, he exchanged his remaining demon hunting points for treasures of various attributes. If he were to exchange his points at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, he would need a long time to exchange for these treasures. However, if he were to use his demon hunting points to raise his chaotic dragon body to the sacred tier, he would be lacking the rising dragon marrow. With the rising dragon marrow, he would not need too many treasures. The main thing was Kong Shinmu's devouring power. The devouring of treasures would be efficient enough. Now that I have the rising dragon marrow, I need to raise my chaotic dragon body to the sacred tier. Kong Shinmu thought. Xiao Yuhua and the others also exchanged their points for some cultivation resources. The cultivation resources they exchanged were just ordinary cultivation resources. However, they were suitable for them as they only wanted to build a good foundation. For example, cultivation realm. Xiao Yuhua and the young lady in the white dress were both in the midst of a breakthrough. With a small amount of cultivation resources, they would be able to go very far. Ran Ran and Liang Xiao were the same. They were talented to begin with. With sufficient cultivation resources, they would definitely be able to improve rapidly. When they arrived outside the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy, the 5 of them decided to split up temporarily. They would return to their own palaces to cultivate and improve. They would meet again in 10 days. Kong Shinmu originally wanted to return as well. However, on second thought, if he wanted to cultivate the chaotic dragon body, it would be best if he had someone to spar with. As for sparring, Xiao Yuhua and the others were no longer enough. After all, their attacks could not pose any threat to Kong Shinmu. Thinking of this, Kong Shinmu turned around and returned to the office. He found Ling Hu Dai again. Hearing that Kong Shinmu wanted her to be his sparring partner and keep attacking Kong Shinmu to injure him, Ling Hu Dai was a little surprised. She stared at him and said, "Do you think I have so much time on my hands? However, since you want me to hit you, then it's another matter. Come. Lie down in the backyard first. At first, she was a little angry. However, she quickly revealed a devilish smile and agreed to Kong Shinmu's request. Kong Shinmu also felt that it wasn't good to trouble mentor Dragon Emperor like this. After all, he definitely had a lot of things to do. However, he quickly realized that Ling Hu Dai had nothing to do. She was only guarding the office temporarily. After the official tutor of the office came to take over, she brought Kong Shinmu to the courtyard behind the office to prepare. This was a forest that occupied a rather vast area. Furthermore, it was divided into several rooms. It was obvious that it was originally meant for the dragon martial artist to cultivate. Ling Hu Dai brought Kong Shinmu to a room and had Kong Shinmu make his preparations. 7 days later, Kong Shinmu walked out of the room in disbelief. Ling Hu Dai followed behind him with a smile on her face and her hands behind her back. During these 7 days, Ling Hu Dai was like a devil tormenting him. Every attack was the kind that could kill Kong Shinmu. Fortunately, Kong Shinmu had consumed the ascending dragon marrow and absorbed a lot of natural treasure's spiritual qi. After he was injured, he quickly recovered. Then, he used the ascending dragon marrow's power to cultivate the chaotic dragon body. Originally, the chaotic dragon body reaching the heaven rank was already the limit. However, with the ascending dragon marrow's power, his chaotic dragon body continued to advance to a higher rank. Most importantly, Ling Hu Dai was actually proficient in some healing dragon martial techniques. This saved Kong Shinmu a lot of time to recover. Every attack of hers was just right. She controlled her power very well. Every attack of hers made Kong Shinmu feel so much pain that he wanted to die. However, he almost didn't die every time now. Looking at Ling Hu Dai was like looking at a devil. Fortunately, her sharp control over her power was very useful for Kong Shinmu's cultivation of the chaotic dragon body. After 7 days, Ling Hu Dai sighed and said, "The effect of your chaotic dragon body breaking through to the sage rank is not bad. It has doubled your overall defensive capabilities. Previously, you said that you killed that high-ranked demon general with the help of the East Emperor Academy students. If you were to encounter it again, you wouldn't need their help. You would be able to deal with such a high-ranked devil general by yourself." "Thank you, teacher." Kong Shinmu was very grateful. Ling Hu Dai was like a little devil. She had tortured him very miserably. In 7 days, she had beaten him to the brink of death several hundred times. If not for that, Kong Shinmu might not have been able to make his chaotic dragon body break through to the sage rank so quickly. The rising dragon marrow is not easy to come by. Your chaotic dragon body is only a primary source dragon martial technique after all. Its effects are not very good. Of course, you can use it as a springboard to increase your strength first and then hunt more demonic creatures. Ling Hu Dai also knew what Kong Shinmu was thinking. After thinking for a while, she said, "There are still 3 days before the demonic creatures from the spatial tear charge out again. You should consolidate your strength and prepare carefully. This period of time is an opportunity, but it is also dangerous." Many students from the Dragon Martial Academy have died in the spatial tear battlefield. 80% of them were killed during this period of time. That is because there are too many demonic creatures that charge out. Furthermore, no one knows what level of opponents they will encounter. Of course, as long as they can come back alive and eliminate most of the demonic creatures, the students will gain a lot. An ordinary student from the Heaven Center District will gain as much as you did this time. These words made Kong Shinmu somewhat look forward to it. Even an ordinary student from the Heaven Center District would gain as much as he did this time. That would be great. He would get a rising dragon marrow every time. To many students in the Heaven Center District, the rising dragon marrow was also extremely rare. It was the same for Xiao Yuhua. If Xiao Yuhua's Phoenix Dance of the 9 Heavens reached the sage rank, she would be able to fight against demonic creatures 3 levels above her. That was because a sage rank high-grade primary source dragon martial technique was much stronger than a heaven rank high-grade primary source dragon martial technique. Kong Shinmu's chaotic dragon body was only a primary source dragon martial technique. Breaking through to the sage rank only doubled his physical defense. However, if it was a high-grade primary source dragon martial technique, the dragon god tyrant body technique, his physical defense would increase by at least 3 times. That was the difference. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu's dragon god tyrant body technique and wind shadow flowing cloud flash were still far from the heaven rank. Even if he had the rising dragon marrow, he would not be able to use it. It was better to consider cultivating to the earth rank first. Sage rank chaotic dragon body, successfully cultivated. Chapter 4476. Of course, Kong Shinmu could not rush these two aspects. If he was too impatient, it would be bad. Without a good foundation, it would be easy to leave hidden dangers in the future. In 7 days, his chaotic dragon body reached the sage tier. Even Linghu Dai, the powerful teacher of the Dragon Emperor, was shocked by this speed. After all, the most difficult thing for most people to do was to recover from injuries. Under normal circumstances, who would intentionally get injured? Only by recovering from injuries could one increase the speed of the dragon body refinement technique, and by a lot. Even if it was just the elementary source dragon martial technique's primal chaos dragon body, if an ordinary person cultivated it, they would not be able to reach the heaven grade without a few years, much less the sage grade. However, Jiang Shenwu's recovery ability was strong, so he cultivated even faster. In addition, Linghu Dai had a good grasp of power. Every time, she could make Kong Shinmu half dead, which was the best result. If Kong Shinmu was seriously injured, even Linghu Dai could not help him recover. Kong Shinmu had to devour the power of the demonic core and recover to the point where he was on the brink of death. Only then could Linghu Dai help him slowly recover. Furthermore, the speed of recovery was not fast. It mainly depended on Kong Shinmu's devouring power. After leaving the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Jiang Shenwu finally saw the light of day again. He felt that it had been as long as a few months. It had only been 7 days. Time always passed very slowly in pain. During these 7 days, he had been in extreme pain for almost every moment. If it were someone else, they might not have been able to endure it. Fortunately, everything was settled now. The Saint-tier chaotic dragon body had doubled Kong Shinmu's battle prowess. To him, doubling his defense was not that simple. It was related to how much power he could devour. It also meant that the upper limit of the opponents he could deal with had increased. Next, I have to prepare for the next demonic beast attack. The demonic beast attack happened once a month. It was the void demonic beasts attacking the void crack, trying to gather their forces to break through the barrier. Unfortunately, in the past half a year, they had attacked once a month and were all blocked by the dragon martial artists. The powerhouses of the Dragon Emperor and the students of the Dragon Martial Academy were not weaklings. Against the sea of demonic creatures, each of them could fight several of them. After all, while there were powerhouses among the void beasts, the most important ones were the devil spirits and devil soldiers. For example, high-class devil soldiers could be easily killed by the current Kong Shinmu. Moreover, Kong Shinmu did not even need to use his devouring power. He could just use the Great Desolation Demon Sweeping Sword and the Shadow Dragon Sky Raising Strike to deal with it. If it was the demon spirit, with a little more effort, if it was the demon general, it was not impossible to deal with it. In short, as long as one's strength reached Kong Shinmu's level, they would be able to hold their own, and it would be almost impossible for them to die in the attack of the demonic beasts. The attack of the demonic creatures was not the same as the charge of all the demonic creatures in the sky. After all, the void crack was too big, and the surrounding boundary was also very big. The other party deliberately set up a deceptive formation in many places to lure the Dragon Emperor and the powerhouses over. Then, they would mainly gather their forces to attack a certain part of the boundary. Only then would they be able to break through the boundary. Generally speaking, they would not be so unlucky to encounter the main army of the void beasts. As for Kong Shinmu, he did not even need to worry about encountering the main army of the void beasts. This was because as long as he used the protective crystal to delay them for a while, the seniors of the Dragon Martial Academy would definitely discover the main army of the void beasts and rush over to support them. The current me is at the 7th tier of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. There's still a small distance to the 8th tier. After my chaotic dragon body reaches the sage tier, I have the confidence to deal with the second Nirvana beast and condense Nirvana power when I break through to the 8th tier. Looks like I'll have to work hard to raise my cultivation next. As for the Divine Dragon's Inheritance Blood Essence, I'm currently at the 6th tier of the Dragon King. If I want to break through to the 7th tier, I still need some Dragon Mark energy. Let's see if I can obtain that much from this attack of the demonic beasts. Kong Shinmu was looking forward to the future. The speed at which he was becoming stronger was far faster than the average Dragon Martial Academy student. Even Xiao Yuhua and the rest improved a lot faster after following Kong Xinmu. After all, they could obtain more experience points and demon hunting points. If they went out to hunt demons on their own, they would not be so efficient. In the next 3 days, Kong Xinmu consolidated his cultivation. Relying on the Dragon Mark Blood Pendant's balance ability, he completely grasped the power that he had just cultivated. Then, he realized that the number of Dragon Martial Academy students at the Void Disc had increased dramatically in the last 2 days. Without a doubt, the attack of the demonic beasts was an excellent opportunity for anyone to improve. As long as one could survive, the rewards would be extremely high. Many Dragon Emperor powerhouses and Dragon Martial Academy students would come to hunt every time the demonic beasts attacked. They would block the demonic beasts' attacks and spend the rest of the time cultivating in seclusion. Under such circumstances, the overall strength of the Dragon Martial continent was improving rapidly. The students who could come to the Void Rift battlefield improved at least 2 or 3 times faster than those who did not. Moreover, there were no powerful demon emperors in the Beast Abyss. If they continued to stay in the Beast Abyss, their improvement would be too slow. Since Kong Xinmu came to the Void Rift battlefield, he could not go back to the Beast Abyss to train. That would be too inefficient. It just so happens that the Void Rift appeared. Otherwise, I would not have such an opportunity to improve by leaps and bounds. Kong Xinmu thought to himself. He waited in the office of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. He saw many Dragon Martial Academy students coming and going on the streets outside. He saw Feng Ligay, Emperor Qin, and finally Yu Tianchong. When Yu Tianchong saw Kong Xinmu, she was obviously stunned. Then, she smiled and walked up to Kong Xinmu. Kong Xinmu, why are you here? Yu Tianchong was still worried when she saw Kong Xinmu. The demonic beast's attacks are coming soon. If you step into the Void Rift battlefield, you might be in danger. Why don't you come with me? Yu Tianchong had always acted alone in the Void Rift battlefield. Now that she saw Kong Xinmu, she wanted to bring him along. It could be considered as helping Kong Xinmu. After all, she was the one who introduced Kong Xinmu to Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. Initially, when Kong Xinmu was targeted by Zhuo Xiaofeng, it was entirely because of her. Therefore, she felt a little guilty. Senior Yu, do you still think that this kid is so weak that you want to bring him along to protect him? At this moment, a sneering voice was heard. This Kong Xinmu just killed a high-ranked devil general a while ago. It was said that Qin Xiaoye of our Eastern Emperor assisted him. Chapter 4477. Yu Tianchong and Kong Xinmu looked in the direction of the voice. They saw a man in green with 3 Donghuang Yongwu College students looking in their direction. That green-robed man was actually Chu Qingyun. During the demonic beast training, Chu Qingyun's limelight had been overshadowed by Kong Xinmu, and he had even lost the Great Desolate Demon Rinsing Sword in a bet with Kong Xinmu. Now, the Great Desolate Demon Rinsing Sword had become an important dragon weapon for Kong Xinmu. Of course, Chu Qingyun was unhappy with Kong Xinmu. After this fellow had lost to Kong Xinmu, it could be said that Donghuang Yongwu College had lost face. Students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial College appeared in front of students from Donghuang University with their heads held high, causing Donghuang Yongwu College's prestige to be much lower than before. As a student of Donghuang Yongwu College, it was because of this that they could not lift their heads high most of the time. This was also the reason why Qin Xiaoye was so hostile to Kong Xinmu when she first saw him. Therefore, Chu Qingyun was basically beaten down by Zhuo Xiaofeng, and there were no more training resources. Moreover, he had even given the experience points he had gained from the demonic beast training to the Dragon Martial College mentor who had opened the back door. This was a huge loss. This also caused Chu Qingyun's training to be very poor. Everyone had a chance to improve rapidly, and the experience points they had gained from the demonic beast training had allowed everyone to improve by leaps and bounds. However, Chu Qingyun was basically still in the same place. Even the 3 Donghuang students behind Chu Qingyun were much stronger than Chu Qingyun in terms of strength. However, Chu Qingyun explained that he was accumulating the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, so the 3 Donghuang students still believed him and followed him, treating him as their leader. The current Chu Qingyun might not even be able to deal with a superior demon spirit. Not to mention a superior demon general. Right now, Jiang Xinwu had the qualifications to speak on the same level as an elite student like Qin Xiaoye. But in front of Qin Xiaoye, Chu Qingyun could only act like a grandson. This was because Qin Xiaoya wouldn't even glance at him. This time, Chu Qingyun had actually come to the spatial rift battlefield, and had even led a team to participate in the demonic beast attack. Without a doubt, this was not the first time Chu Qingyun had done something like this. Unfortunately, with his strength, he could only follow behind his little brother, and the demon hunting points he gained were few. Even after participating in the demonic beast attack several times, Chu Qingyun had not improved much. His base had only increased by 1 level, and his Dragon Emperor blood inheritance had not changed in a long time. He had wanted to work, but without resources and no demon hunting points, how could he have done? In particular, after being specially trained by Zhuo Xiaofeng, he had already relied on the days of eating heavenly treasures like crazy. Now that he had suddenly returned to his pre-liberation state, he could not adapt at all. Especially after being specially nurtured by Zhuo Xiaofeng. The other students of Donghuang Yonggu College would look at him with strange expressions. This caused him to be in a miserable state right now. Other than the 3 underlings behind him who were still loyal and devoted, the other students of the Eastern Imperial Dragon Martial Academy would look at him with strange gazes. Many students who were inferior to Chu Qingyun in the past had now far surpassed him, leaving him in the dust. Many students who were inferior to Chu Qingyun in the past had now far surpassed him, leaving him in the dust. This fellow, why is he like a haunting ghost? When Kong Xinmu saw Chu Qingyun, he frowned. He didn't think that with Chu Qingyun's strength, he would actually dare to come to the spatial rift battlefield. It seemed like he was being protected by his 3 little brothers. Otherwise, he would have died in the hands of the demonic beasts the moment he entered the supreme enchantment. Chu Qingyun, why aren't you cultivating properly? Why are you wandering around? Yu Tianchong glanced at Chu Qingyun. She naturally didn't have a good impression of him. Senior sister Yu, I just can't bear to see you so close to this Zhang guy. This is purely ruining your future. Chu Qingyun glanced at Yu Tianchong with a fawning expression. Does it have anything to do with you who I'm close to? Yu Tianchong sneered and couldn't be bothered with Chu Qingyun. Others might not know, but how could she not know that Chu Qingyun was Zhuo Xiaofeng's dog? Yu Tianchong didn't have a good impression of Zhuo Xiaofeng, let alone Chu Qingyun. Chu Qingyun didn't know that Zhuo Xiaofeng was targeting Kong Xinmu because of Yu Tianchong. But Yu Tianchong knew. Chu Qingyun was Zhuo Xiaofeng's dog. Even after being abandoned, he was still loyal. It had to be said that Chu Qingyun was really powerful. It doesn't matter. However, it's best that senior sister Yu doesn't walk together with the traitor of our Donghuang Yonggu College. Chu Qingyun's expression turned sinister as he said, if news of this were to spread, I'm afraid the students of our Donghuang College would be bitterly disappointed. There are many people who want to participate in the demonic attack with senior sister Yu, but senior sister ignored them all. In the end, you want to bring an outsider. What he said was true. But to Yu Tianchong, there was no need to care about this. She was just about to speak when Kong Xinmu smiled and shook his head. He stopped Yu Tianchong. Senior sister, what he said isn't wrong. I'll go out and hunt some small demonic creatures. If I follow senior sister, I won't be able to get any training. You really don't want to follow me? Yu Tianchong was a little surprised. She smiled and said, "Oh right, he just said that you can kill a high-ranked devil general. Is that true? I did it with Qin Xiaoya. But now, I should be able to deal with a high-ranked devil general alone." Kong Xinmu nodded and admitted it. Even if it's a demonic attack, I think it shouldn't be too big of a problem. That's good. Yu Tianchong heaved a sigh of relief. Then, she carefully sized up Kong Xinmu. Unfortunately, no matter how she looked, she couldn't see that Kong Xinmu could actually kill a high-ranked devil general. Others thought so too. So now that this matter had spread out, everyone said that Kong Xinmu had taken advantage of Qin Xiaoya. If Qin Xiaoya hadn't used the reincarnation to burn to extinction, how could Kong Xinmu have taken advantage of her? That high-ranked devil general's demonic core would never have been given to Kong Xinmu. When Qin Xiaoya heard these rumors, she would explain that she had indeed taken advantage of Kong Xinmu to be able to kill that high-ranked devil general. But others didn't believe her. The key was that Qin Xiaoya's 2 followers had been spreading rumors about Kong Xinmu. So this matter had basically been settled. They all thought that Kong Xinmu had taken advantage of her and was a despicable person. In any case, Kong Xinmu couldn't be bothered to pay attention to others. In this world, strength spoke for everything. Chapter 4478. In Kong Xinmu's opinion, even a super genius like Yu Tianxiang was not impossible to surpass. In the eyes of Chu Qingyun and the others, Yu Tianxiang was destined to be stronger than them. They would never be able to surpass a genius dragon martial artist student like Yu Tianxiang. There was already a gap in their thinking. Therefore, Kong Xinmu was destined to leave mediocre people like Chu Qingyun far behind. Even though people like Chu Qingyun were already top-notch geniuses in the dragon martial continent, in the eyes of Kong Xinmu, they were not qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as him. Since that's the case, I won't disturb you anymore. If you need any help, you can look for me. Yu Tianxiang said a little more to Kong Xinmu, then left in a hurry. After all, she was the top student of Donghuang Yonggu College. Her battle prowess was extremely strong, and it was very likely that she was trying to reach the strength of Tutor Dragon Emperor. The invasion of demonic creatures from the Void Crack was a very good opportunity for her to improve. Even her relative, Yu Yaji, the dean of Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy, could not provide such abundant cultivation resources. Only when something big happened could a supreme divine dragon provide such abundant resources. After Yu Tianxiang left, Chu Qingyun threw a provocative look at Kong Xinmu, then left with his men. Boss, if we see Kong Xinmu in the battlefield where the demonic creatures attack, should we? After walking far away, one of Chu Qingyun's lackeys behind him made a beheading gesture and asked in a low voice. Of course. Do you need me to say it? Chu Qingyun's face was gloomy. We'd better keep a close eye on his movements. There are many people in our Dragon Martial Academy who don't like him. As long as we know his location, we don't need to do anything ourselves. In fact, Chu Qingyun was somewhat afraid of Kong Xinmu, because Kong Xinmu's battle prowess was too terrifying. Before the demonic creatures trial, Emperor Shi Dragon Martial Academy's team led by Kong Xinmu could already kill a 6th-tier devil spirit, which was much stronger than the team led by Chu Qingyun. By now, Chu Qingyun felt that Kong Xinmu wasn't someone he could deal with. Even if his entire team attacked together, it still wouldn't be enough. They did not have the confidence to cooperate with Qin Xiaoye to kill a high-ranked devil general. Since Kong Xinmu could do it, he definitely possessed extraordinary battle prowess. Therefore, they planned to follow Kong Xinmu closely and leak his information to other Donghuang Yonggu College students. In this way, there would be plenty of experts to deal with Kong Xinmu. Of course, Kong Xinmu didn't know about this. In fact, he didn't really care. After all, he had the protective crystal and had 4 chances to save his life. He wasn't afraid of encountering any unsolvable danger. He continued to wait at the entrance of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy. Soon, he saw Xiao Yuhua and the other 3. The 4 of them came up together. Xiao Yuhua, Xiao Bai, Liang Xiao, and Ran Ran. After the 4 of them came up and met up with Kong Xinmu, they each explained the situation of their cultivation. Among them, Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai already had inherited blood essence at the level of the Dragon Emperor. Their cultivation had also broken through to the 2nd level of the Samsara realm. Moreover, they each cultivated a high-grade origin dragon martial skill and had even reached the peak of the Heaven realm. There was still a gap between their battle prowess and Qin Xiaoye's, but compared to before, they were already much stronger. The key was Little White. This time, she had finally completely fused with her own dragon weapon. It was an ice longbow, and its entire body was emitting a cold aura. She had not used it much before, because the dragon martial skill, Ice-Splitting Heaven Slash, was not suitable for a bow-type dragon weapon. Even if she forcefully used the power of the ice longbow, its might wouldn't be as strong as directly using the ice-rending Heaven Slash. But now it was different. She had completely fused with the ice longbow. When she used another bow-type dragon martial skill, her lethality was at least 2 times greater than before. This time, she had improved a lot. Naturally, the others had also improved a lot. For example, Liang Zhao's current inherited blood essence was at the 8th level of the Dragon King, and his cultivation had broken through to the 1st level of the Samsara realm. He focused on breaking through to the next level of cultivation. After reaching the Samsara realm, his blood explosion talent gave birth to a reincarnation level effect. This allowed his blood explosion power to produce continuous explosions. One attack was equivalent to 3 previous attacks, and the energy consumed was still the same as before. The power of these 3 superimposed attacks wasn't as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. 3 superimposed attacks bombarded the same place. The destructive power would probably be 7 or 8 times greater than before, or even 10 times greater. Everything depended on whether he attacked the opponent's weakness. It could be said that Liang Zhao's blood explosion talent was also extremely strong. It had more special effects than Xiao Yuhua's fire attribute power and Xiao Bai's ice attribute power. In terms of attack power, Liang Xiao didn't lose to Xiao Yuhua and the others by much. However, in terms of overall strength, Liang Xiao was still too weak. After all, he was only at the 8th level of the Dragon King's inherited blood essence. There was still a huge gap between the Dragon King and the Dragon Emperor. By the time Liang Xiao could break through to the Dragon Emperor's blood essence, Xiao Bai and Xiao Yuhua would probably have reached the 2nd level of the Dragon Emperor. The gap would still be there. Therefore, it wouldn't be easy for Liang Xiao to catch up to Xiao Bai and Xiao Yuhua. Without special opportunities, it was basically impossible. Xiao Bai and Xiao Yuhua would always be stronger than Liang Xiao. Of course, this was a comparison of overall strength. If there was Kong Xinmu blocking in front of him, Liang Xiao would probably catch up very quickly. After all, the effect of the blood explosion power was still very terrifying. As for Ran Ran, she had recently broken through to the 1st level of the rebirth realm. She was very talented to begin with, and her efficiency in absorbing natural treasures was also very high. Breaking through her realm wasn't slow, especially since she had recently obtained more cultivation resources and demon hunting points. After reaching the 1st level of the rebirth realm, her Dark Jade Extreme Breaker power had also developed a new effect. It had an extreme restraining effect on darkness attribute power. And the demonic chi of void demons was a type of darkness attribute power. In other words, Ran Ran's rebirth realm power naturally restrained the power of void demons. Her power could easily break through the demonic chi defense of demons of the same realm, and even disintegrate their attacks. This was the Dark Jade Extreme Breaker Dragon. It could be said that the Dark Jade Extreme Breaker Dragon bloodline was basically the nemesis of void demons. Compared to Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai, Ran Ran's cultivation realm and inherited blood essence grade were weaker. But when facing void demons, Ran Ran's combat strength might not be weaker than the 2 of them. Since everyone has improved, our overall combat strength has gone up another level. Chapter 4479. With such a friend by his side, Kong Xinmu felt very relieved. At least, he was much better than Chu Qingyun. However, the students that Chu Qingyun brought with him made Kong Xinmu a little surprised. He didn't think that those 3 students would actually follow Chu Qingyun, as if they would never abandon him. Although they were clearly much stronger than Chu Qingyun, it was a pity that Jiang Shunwu couldn't interfere in such matters. Not to mention that he did not know them, even if he did, he would not be able to influence their decisions. After meeting up with Xiao Yuhua and the others, Kong Xinmu planned to set off. The demonic attack this time should start in the evening in the Dragon Martial Continent and continue for at least a night. This night was a matter of life and death for many people. As long as they could hunt down the void demonic creatures, the harvest would be considerable. Many people were rubbing their palms in preparation on the void disc. Each of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies had their own offices, and outside of their offices was a large plaza where everyone could gather. Kong Xinmu and the others gathered at the plaza of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. At a glance, there were dozens of dragon martial artists, all preparing for the demonic attack. Among them, Feng Legay seemed to be planning to act alone. As for the other dragon martial artists, they had basically formed small teams. There were even some Dragon Emperor mentors who would participate in this operation. The Dragon Martial Artist Camp was well prepared for this demonic attack. On the other side of the void disc, hundreds of Dragon Emperor level powerhouses had gathered. When it was time to set off, everyone set off from the void disc and gathered near the supreme barrier. Hey! Isn't this little brother Jiang? Suddenly, Kong Xinmu heard a surprised voice. He looked in the direction of the voice and saw a familiar figure. It was the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang that he met when Ran Ran participated in the genius trial in Donghuang Yonggu College. Liang Luo, the son of the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang, should be cultivating in Donghuang Yonggu College. Kong Xinmu also met him during the demonic trial, but they only exchanged a few words. Unexpectedly, now, Kong Xinmu met Liang Luo's father, the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang. This Dragon Emperor of Great Liang was a powerful existence who could cultivate to the third level of the Dragon Emperor in the Dragon Martial Continent. But now, this Dragon Emperor of Great Liang seemed to have reached the fourth level of the Dragon Emperor after fighting in the Void Crack battlefield for half a year. It had to be said that this progress was too fast. If there was no such opportunity, it was likely that the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang would need decades to break through to the fourth level of the Dragon Emperor. But in this place, only half a year had passed, and he broke through. And in addition to the inherited blood essence reaching the fourth level of the Dragon Emperor, the combat power of the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang in other aspects was obviously not too low, and most likely had also improved. It seemed that the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang had hunted a lot of void demonic creatures in the Void Crack battlefield. Behind the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang, there were some Dragon King of the ninth level of the Reincarnation Tribulation Realm. Those were the subordinates of the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang's Dragon Emperor Kingdom, generals and the like. All of them were quite strong. On the one hand, bringing them along was to deal with some things, restrain some opponents during the battle, and also give them a push. Once they could get enough demon hunting points, they would have the opportunity to break through and become a powerhouse of the Dragon Emperor. For them, this was a major breakthrough in their lives. Once they succeeded, they would step into another level, and even be qualified to rule a Dragon Emperor Kingdom on the Dragon Martial Continent. Great Liang Dragon Emperor, I didn't expect you to come here. Kong Shinmu nodded to the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang as a greeting. The Dragon Emperor of Great Liang laughed and said, "It has been a year since the last time we parted. I didn't expect little brother Jiang to be able to kill an upper-level devil general. It's really not easy. It seems that little brother Jiang is doing well at Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy." He and Kong Shinmu were acquaintances, and his son Liang Luo was able to join Donghuang Yanggu College because he was with Ran Ran. He glanced at Ran Ran and said with a smile, "Miss Ran Ran is also here, what a coincidence." Sigh, this time, our Dragon Martial Continent has suffered a great change. If there are more geniuses like you, the Dragon Martial Continent will have greater hope in the future. As the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon Emperor Kingdom, he naturally had to consider more problems than Kong Shinmu and the others. Not only did they need to improve their own strength, but they also needed to consider the people of the Dragon Emperor Kingdom. Therefore they had to have a broader vision, while the students of the Dragon Martial Academy mainly focused on improving their own strength. Ran Ran did not have any thoughts about the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang. Hearing what he said, she just glanced at him. However, Ran Ran suddenly saw a group of people flying out from the crowd, and her eyes lit up. She tugged on Kong Shinmu's sleeve and said, "Brother Jiang, look, isn't that Dragon Emperor Yen and the others?" Ran Ran had returned to the Yen Dragon Emperor Kingdom with Kong Shinmu previously, so she had seen the Dragon Emperor Yen. She knew that Kong Shinmu valued the Yen Dragon Emperor Kingdom very much. Therefore, when she saw the Dragon Emperor Yen, Ran Ran was a little surprised. She did not expect the Dragon Emperor Yen to come as well. The Dragon Emperor of Great Liang did not care much, and was still chatting with Kong Shinmu enthusiastically. "Brother Jiang, since we are fated to meet, why don't you come with me? When it comes to hunting and killing void monsters, I do have some insights." "There's no need for that," Kong Shinmu said modestly. "After all, we came out to train. Although it is for demon hunting points, the process of training is also indispensable. If we really follow the Dragon Emperor, I am afraid we will not get any training, and the demon hunting points will be useless." When Kong Shinmu was fighting now, he had been practicing the fusion with the Great Desolate Demon Sword in actual combat, and also the cultivation of the two advanced Source Dragon martial techniques. If he really followed the Dragon Emperor of Great Liang, or followed Yu Tianchong before, it would not be in line with Kong Shinmu's idea. If he followed these two, it would be safe enough, but he might not gain much. Moreover, he would lose the opportunity to train, which was not worth the loss. Anyway, Kong Shinmu was not worried about safety now. "Hey, that's right, if the senior wants to bring someone, why not bring the Dragon Emperor Yen along?" Kong Shinmu suddenly thought of this matter, and his eyes could not help but brighten up. At this time, the Dragon Emperor Yen in the distance also happened to see Kong Shinmu, and immediately flew over, followed by 6 Flame Dragon Envoys. The 6 Flame Dragon Envoys were all top Dragon King powerhouses, and the grade of their blood essence was not far from the Dragon Emperor, so the Dragon Emperor Yen brought them along to try their luck. As long as they could hunt void demons, they could get demon hunting points, and then they could exchange for treasures that contained Dragon Mark energy. Chapter 4480. Great Liang Dragon Emperor was also alone, with several generals of Great Liang's Dragon Kingdom. And Yen Dragon Emperor was also alone, with 6 Yen Dragon envoys. If they walked together, Great Liang Dragon Emperor would definitely take care of Yen Dragon Emperor. After all, Dragon Emperor Yen was only the second level of Dragon Emperor's inherited blood, 2 levels lower than Great Liang Dragon Emperor, and his strength was also weaker. Of course, both of them were at the peak of the 9th level of Samsara realm. Except for the level of Dragon Emperor's inherited blood, there was basically no difference between them in other aspects. Yen Dragon Emperor? When Great Liang Dragon Emperor saw Yen Dragon Emperor, he was a little surprised, but since he was a friend recommended by Kong Shinmu, he was willing to make friends. Yen Dragon Emperor soon came over, and then chatted with Kong Shinmu for a while, and also got to know Great Liang Dragon Emperor. Great Liang's Dragon Kingdom was probably located in the middle of Dragon Emperor Dynasty and Donghuang Yongwu College, and the distance was still relatively far. If it wasn't for the opening of the Void Crack battlefield, perhaps these 2 Dragon Emperors would never meet, let alone become friends. But now they met in the Void Crack battlefield, and became friends through Kong Shinmu's introduction. Maybe they could become good friends in the future. Your Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty can cultivate a genius like Kong Shinmu. It's really amazing. Great Liang Dragon Emperor heard that Kong Shinmu came from Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty. He was a little shocked and very impressed. Your Great Liang Dragon Kingdom is still the best. Our Yen Dragon Emperor dynasty is just a small border dragon kingdom. If it wasn't for Kong Shinmu, I'm afraid we wouldn't even be able to enter your eyes. Dragon Emperor Yen laughed haughtily and said, "And this Kong Shinmu? To be honest, I didn't train him at all. Instead, he made our Dragon Emperor Yen proud. Today, let's move together. Hopefully, we'll be able to gain more at this critical juncture." Great Liang Dragon Emperor laughed and patted Dragon Emperor Yan's shoulder. Then, Dragon Emperor and Kong Shinmu bade farewell. As for Great Liang's Dragon Emperor's son, Liang Luo, he was just an ordinary dragon martial artist, at least in the Dragon Martial Academy. No matter how much of a genius he was probably just a student in the Yuhing district, at most a student in the Migres district. If they came to this Void Crack battlefield, they probably wouldn't even know how they died. The current Liang Luo was definitely not as good as Chu Qingyun. After all, Chu Qingyun had been cultivating in Donghuang Yongwu College for a long time, and was specially trained by Zhou Xiaofeng for a period of time. Even the current Chu Qingyun was just cannon fodder in the Void Crack battlefield. It could be speculated that the current Liang Luo would not be able to come here, let alone face the attack of the demons. Great Liang Dragon Emperor and Yen Dragon Emperor Yen left together, which made Kong Shinmu feel a little relieved. Although Dragon Emperor Yen had been here with Yen Dragon Envoy for a long time, and had experienced a few demon attacks, there shouldn't be any danger. However, when the demonic creatures attacked, it still depended on luck. If they were unlucky enough to encounter a large group of demonic creatures, it would be safer for the Yen Dragon Emperor and the Great Liang Dragon Emperor to stay together. Donghuang Yongwu College, Qin Fengyu, Lu Hua, Bao Peng, and Qin Shouji didn't come. Kong Shinmu looked around and didn't see these old friends. It seemed that their strength had not kept up recently. Generally speaking, only students who had reached Tianxian district would come to the Void Crack battlefield to improve themselves. Most of the other students stayed in Dragon Martial College. Kong Shinmu was already an exception. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu wouldn't have come to the Void Crack battlefield. This was a grand occasion. Appearing in front of Kong Shinmu were hundreds of Dragon Emperor powerhouses, each with a few Dragon King powerhouses from the Dragon Emperor Kingdom. Even those Dragon King powerhouses were not weaker than many students in the Tianji district. After all, they were Dragon King powerhouses at the 9th level of the Reincarnation Realm. For example, the 6 Flame Dragon Envoys. Their strength was at least at the level of Xiao Yuhua and Xiao Bai. However, because they only had inherited essence blood at the level of the Dragon King, they would be suppressed by the Dragon Emperor in battle. Their advantage in cultivation level was enough to make up for the suppression. To put it bluntly, the students of Dragon Martial College were basically just vassals in the battlefield against the Void Crack demons. The most basic combat power was still the Dragon Emperor and Dragon King of the Dragon Emperor Kingdom. The top combat power was the tutors of Dragon Martial College and the top students of the Heaven Center District. Even the deans of the 4 Dragon Martial Colleges would appear at the crucial moment, such as Yu Yaji, Zhou Xiaofeng, and so on. Countless people were waiting for the demon's attack to begin. The demonic hordes appeared from the cracks in the void. Every month, the cracks would open once, and during this period, a large number of void demonic creatures would appear from the cracks and attack the surrounding boundary. At this time every month, the deans of the 4 dragon martial colleges would attack together to kill most of the void demons. In reality, the others were just picking up the leftovers. After all, the area of the void crack was too vast, and there were too many void demons. Even the deans of the 4 super dragon colleges could not kill all of them. At this moment, many dragon martialists gathered together. Then, Jiang Xinwu saw 4 super mystical dragons that were tens of thousands of feet long appear in the void in front of them, arriving in front of everyone. As usual, everyone will be divided into 4 directions and spread out to different parts of the supreme barrier. We still don't have enough people. We can't cover the entire supreme barrier. There's still danger. If we encounter danger, I'm afraid we won't even have the chance to call for backup. Many people started discussing in private. Kong Xinmu also heard the discussion, but he did not care. When he planned to face the demon's attack, he was already prepared to face strong enemies. Very quickly, the 4 super mystical dragons in front did not say much. After seeing that everyone had gathered, they flew off in 4 different directions. In any case, don't follow Zhuo Xiaofeng. Kong Xinmu thought to himself. He looked in the direction where Yu Yaji was and led his people to follow. Zhuo Xiaofeng had a grudge against him, so he would be courting death if he followed. As for the deans of the South Emperor and the North Wilderness Dragon Martial Colleges, Kong Xinmu did not know them at all. He did not know them, so there was no need for him to follow them. It was safer to follow Yu Yaji. She might even be able to save him at the crucial moment. There were a total of more than 2,000 dragon warriors, and they dispersed towards the various parts of the supreme barrier in this order. After the demonic creatures appeared from the void rift, they all rushed in all directions. They only needed to guard the edge of the spirit formation, wait for them to rush over, and then kill them. This was the most suitable, because once they discovered that there were too many enemies, they could retreat to the back of the spirit formation and rely on the spirit formation to isolate the enemies. In this way, no matter how strong the void demons were or how many there were, they would not be able to hurt them. Chapter 4481. Kong Xinmu led the team and followed Yu Yaji. The super dragon god's body was over 2,000 feet long, and it was like a majestic mountain range traversing through the void. The other hundreds of dragon warriors followed behind her, each discussing where they should go to guard. Yu Yaji didn't show favoritism at this time, and she couldn't. It was impossible for her to bring Kong Xinmu along. After all, she was shouldering a very important mission, which was to kill most of the void monsters. If she brought Kong Xinmu along, it wouldn't be good for Kong Xinmu, and it wouldn't be good for her either. She might even encounter danger herself. That was because the void monsters that rushed out of the void crack might have demon commander level existences. Once a demon commander level existence appeared, it would be a huge threat to Yu Yaji and the others. Therefore, Kong Xinmu had to find an area to guard by himself. At this time, because everyone was scattered in different places, after choosing the area they needed to guard, they basically wouldn't meet other dragon warriors. Generally speaking, no one would cause trouble at this time. Even Zhuo Xiaofeng didn't have the guts to do so. If he messed things up and the void monsters broke through the supreme boundary, Zhuo Xiaofeng's responsibility would be extremely heavy. If the supreme dragon god blamed him, Zhuo Xiaofeng wouldn't be able to bear the consequences. Therefore, Kong Xinmu didn't have to worry about others causing trouble at this time. Of course, if someone really wanted to secretly plot against him, he wasn't afraid either. Anyway, the monsters attacked once a month, and it was such an excellent opportunity to earn demon hunting points. Kong Xinmu felt that no one would give up this opportunity and attack him instead. What Kong Xinmu didn't know was that the students of Donghuang Yanggu College had already spread news about Kong Xinmu. Many people in the crowd were watching Kong Xinmu's movements. There were tens of thousands of small formation eyes on the supreme boundary. These small formation eyes had to be guarded, and the void monsters also wanted to find a breakthrough from these small formation eyes. Therefore, the dragon martial artists were free to choose their own small array eyes to guard. Very quickly, Kong Xinmu randomly picked a small array core and flew towards it. Together with Xiao Yuhua and the other 3, the 5 of them flew towards the supreme boundary. At the same time, Quite a number of people in the crowd saw this scene and actually flew out one after another. They flew towards the smaller array eyes that were closer to them, as though they were going to protect those array eyes. Why are there so many people guarding this place? Yu Yaji took a casual glance and found that those who flew out with Kong Shinmu were all students of Donghuang Yonggu College. These students were divided into groups of 3 or 4, and there were actually 4 groups in total. They landed around Kong Shinmu. It was as if they had surrounded Kong Shinmu's group of 5. I'm afraid they're going to target Kong Shinmu. Yu Yaji's mouth curled up as she thought to herself. However, she took a look at the students of Donghuang Yonggu College. There were a total of 15 people, among which only 5 were students of the Tianxian district, and the other 10 were students of the Tianji district. Not a single one from the Tianshu district. Yu Yaji was relieved and did not say anything. She believed that Kong Shinmu could deal with these students of Donghuang Yonggu College by himself. In any case, she knew that Kong Shinmu had obtained the protective crystal from the Supreme Dragon God. If not, there was still the protective crystal. Who could hurt Kong Shinmu? Jiang Shenwu flew towards the unparalleled dimension. Soon, he, Xiao Yuhua and the others passed through the unparalleled dimension and arrived inside the unparalleled dimension. Here they could feel a very strong demonic aura, as well as a rather strong smell of blood. It was likely that many void demons had died in the vicinity, as the smell of blood lingered for a long time. The supreme boundary was a layer of translucent void barrier. This barrier flickered in the light and darkness, and at the location of the small formation core, there was a relatively bright spot of light. The entire supreme boundary was connected by tens of thousands of such shining spots of light, and every 2 spots of light were separated by a distance of 10 miles. At this time, Kong Shinmu discovered that around the small formation core he was at, within a radius of 10 miles, there were actually 4 teams of dragon warriors landing at the same time. It seemed that they were planning to guard the 4 small formation cores. I've never seen such a concentrated number of small formation cores before. Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes. One must know that there were a total of more than 10,000 small formation cores, but the number of dragon warriors was only slightly more than 2,000, and these dragon warriors were almost all in teams. In other words, there were a total of 400 to 500 groups of dragon warriors, which could guard 400 to 500 small formation cores. Generally, there would be a group of dragon warriors guarding a distance of 200 to 300 miles. But now, within a radius of 10 miles from Kong Shinmu, there were actually 5 groups of dragon warriors. How could Kong Shinmu not worry about this? They are students from Donghuang Yonggu College. Xiao Yuhua observed for a while and said calmly, "Well, I can see that." Kong Shinmu nodded. He was from Donghuang Yonggu College, so he naturally recognized those people. A total of 4 groups of students from Donghuang Yonggu College descended directly around him and surrounded him from 4 directions. There was no doubt that the other party wanted to cause trouble. Kong Shinmu narrowed his eyes and said, "Now that the demons are about to attack, no one knows when they will attack. Otherwise, I would like to get rid of these guys first." With Ling Yun's treasure ring, Kong Shinmu could completely compete with those students from Tianxian district. Even if it was a student from Tianxian district, as long as it was not a top expert like Yu Tianchong, Kong Shinmu could compete with them. These guys in front of him probably did not know what kind of strength Kong Shinmu had now. Of course, if the 4 groups of dragon warriors came together to cause trouble, Kong Shinmu was afraid that he would not be a match for them. Therefore, Kong Shinmu wanted to take the initiative to gain the upper hand, but unfortunately, he did not know when the demons would attack, so he gave up on the idea of stirring up trouble. In order to prevent unexpected situations, Kong Shinmu and the other 4 were all in their divine dragon form, guarding near the small formation core. The 4 groups of Donghuang Yonggu College students who landed around Kong Shinmu were now also in their dragon form, preparing for the demon's attack. They really wanted to attack Kong Shinmu, but they could not do it directly. Instead, they wanted to observe first, to see what kind of strength Kong Shinmu had, then decide whether they should attack or not. After all, they were not fools. Moreover, the demon's attack was a rare opportunity. They also wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to obtain more demon hunting points. Only by obtaining more demon hunting points could they become stronger. This was the foundation of their strength. As students of Dragon Martial Academy, they would not be ignorant of this, so for the time being, they would not take the initiative to cause trouble. Everything would have to wait for the void demons to appear. Roughly an incense stick's worth of time after Jiang Shenwu landed, Suddenly, all the dragon martial artists in the vicinity of the Supreme Spirit formation felt a burst of void energy spreading out from the crack in the void, causing the surrounding space to tremble. It was as if a wave of void ripples swept across the surroundings. Then, a wave of extremely rich and violent devil chi suddenly came from the direction of the void crack. The demon's attack had finally begun. Chapter 4482. The demonic aura swept across the area and spread out of the supreme boundary. In the direction of the void rift, there was a roar of void demonic creatures. It was as if an army of demonic creatures had passed through the void rift and arrived at the starry sky that originally belonged to the martial dragon continent. "They're here." Kong Shinmu's expression darkened as he prepared for battle. The distance between the void rift and the supreme boundary was at least 1,000 miles, but for the void demonic creatures, it would only take half an hour to fly over. After all, there was no resistance in the starry sky, and it was much faster than flying on the martial dragon continent. "I wonder if we'll face an army of demonic creatures or demonic creature scouts?" Xiao Yuhua was also a little nervous. Ran Ran followed closely beside Kong Shinmu, paying attention to everything around them. Not even the direction of the void rift, but the 4 small array cores around them. If the students of Donghuang Yangwu College launched a sneak attack, no one would be prepared for it. Only Ran Ran was vigilantly watching the surroundings. This was a habit she had developed over a long period of time as an assassin, but she was too sensitive this time. When the void demonic creatures rushed out, the students of Donghuang Yangwu College in the other 4 directions clearly did not intend to attack. Facing the void demonic creatures was the common thought of all the students. Even if it was not for the greater good, it was for the demon hunting points that they could obtain. This was the foundation of their cultivation. Unless the situation stabilized, the 4 groups of dragon warriors from Donghuang Yangwu College would only consider attacking Kong Shinmu, which was to teach Kong Shinmu a lesson. Everyone waited anxiously, keeping their guard up. About half an hour passed. "They're here, they're scouts." Kong Shinmu was relieved. He felt some movement in the surrounding space, and then he sensed the hidden aura of the superior demon spirits. There were a total of 2 superior demon spirits, hidden, wandering through the void. Their concealment methods were extremely brilliant, but unfortunately, Kong Shinmu had the help of the centipede ink beast, so he was able to see through them immediately. "Get ready to attack." Kong Shinmu did not hesitate. The 2 superior devil spirits that came were not too strong for him, so he could kill them directly. He could also take the opportunity to devour their power and increase his resistance to devil chi. Right now, Kong Shinmu's resistance was still in its initial state. He had to deal with some small monsters first before his defense could reach its peak. Otherwise, if he were to encounter another existence at the level of a high-ranked devil general, it would be impossible for Kong Shinmu to resist. It was a pity that Ran Ran's power was a little weak. Otherwise, Kong Shinmu would be able to directly devour her power and increase his resistance to the power of darkness. Moreover, only half of the devil chi's attribute was darkness. Devouring the power of Ran Ran's Black Jade Extreme Breaker would not increase his resistance to the devil chi's attacks very much. Kong Shinmu did not carry out these operations. Anyway, his current chaotic dragon body had broken through to the sacred level. At this level, his initial resistance had doubled. It would not be a problem to deal with 2 superior devil spirits. As Kong Shinmu gave the order, he took the lead to attack. The Void Dragon's sky-raising break combined with the great desolate devil sword swept towards the place where the 2 devil spirits were. 6 black and red dragon breath beams suddenly arrived, startling the 2 superior devil spirits. They were hidden devil patrollers. They formed teams of 2 and planned to come to this place to investigate the situation. However, they were unexpectedly discovered by Kong Shinmu. In fact, these 2 devil patrollers had just hidden themselves and wandered around a few small array eyes nearby. Unfortunately, the 4 teams of Donghuang Yangwu College students did not discover them. When they arrived in front of Kong Shinmu finally made his move. These were 2 lumps of meat in his hands. Of course, he could not give them to others. The next moment, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 also attacked at the same time, all attacking one of the superior devil spirits. This superior devil spirit was at the 8th level of the reincarnation tribulation realm. It was equivalent to Dragon King's divine dragon blood essence. Its defense and attack ability could only be considered ordinary. As for the speed that he was most adept at, He was unable to display it at all. Kong Shinmu's attack came too suddenly. Before they could react, Xiao Yuhua and the others' attacks fell again. The four of them had recently made breakthroughs. There was no suspense in dealing with such a weak superior devil spirit. They killed the superior devil spirit in one blow. The terrifying power spread out, leaving the remaining superior devil spirit a little confused. It did not expect that its companion would be killed in one blow. Originally, it thought that there were 5 small array eyes and a total of 5 groups of dragon warrior students in this place. They were not too strong, especially the group in the middle, which seemed to be just a few miscellaneous troops. There was even Dragon King at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm. This superior devil spirit looked down on Kong Shinmu, so it planned to come over to see if it could kill Kong Shinmu's group of 5. However, before they could prepare for a sneak attack, Kong Shinmu launched a surprise attack. This left the remaining superior devil spirit completely unable to react. It did not expect that Kong Shinmu and the others could directly erupt with power and kill its companion in one blow. When did Dragon Warriors' combat strength become so strong? Their cultivation realm and the grade of divine dragon blood essence were obviously not high, and could even be said to be very low. But now, it was too terrifying. The superior devil spirit trembled all over, turned around, and wanted to escape. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu directly used the wind shadow flowing cloud flash. In a flash, his 4,000 to 5,000 feet long black dragon body intercepted in front of the superior devil spirit. At the same time, his dragon claws fiercely clasped the superior devil spirit's body, grabbing both of its arms tightly. This was a hand-to-hand combat method. Kong Shinmu did not want to let the superior devil spirit escape, so he directly used his divine dragon body to get close and then grab the other party tightly. Obviously, the superior devil spirit had never seen such a method of fighting. It should be known that the divine dragon body of a dragon warrior was generally relatively weak. Who would directly rush up to fight hand-to-hand? Well, since you want to fight hand-to-hand, I'll satisfy you. The superior devil spirit's idea was simple. Since Kong Shinmu approached to stop it, it would first kill Kong Shinmu. Its demonic body was still very strong, and Kong Shinmu should be the weakest among this group of people. Anyway, among the attacks aimed at it just now, Kong Shinmu's attack was very weak. Even the Shadow Dragon Sky Raising Break, which was integrated with the power of the Great Desolate Demon Sword, did not pose any threat to it. Therefore, it did not take Kong Shinmu seriously at all. The next moment, the superior devil spirit's whole body burst out with demonic aura, forming a wave of demonic aura lava, which exploded toward Kong Shinmu. Countless demonic aura suddenly arrived and landed on Kong Shinmu's divine dragon body. If it was an ordinary Dragon King at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, this move would definitely kill him. Unfortunately, this superior devil spirit was too unlucky to have encountered Kong Shinmu. When the demonic aura and smoke dissipated, this superior devil spirit was on the verge of collapse. It found that there was not a single scar on Kong Shinmu's black dragon body. What was going on? At this time, Xiao Yuhua and the other's second wave of attacks had arrived, not giving the superior devil spirit any chance. Even Kong Shinmu's black dragon body was enveloped in the attack range. Chapter 4483. Xiao Yuhua and the others directly attacked together with Kong Shinmu. The violent attacks came crashing down. The superior devil spirit did not even have time to put up a defense before it was drowned by everyone's powerful attacks. Unable to escape, its devil body was shattered in an instant. When Kong Shinmu came out of the violent attacks, he was already holding 2 superior devil spirit devil cores in his hand. Let's make it clear this time. No matter what the final harvest is, we will split it evenly. Kong Shinmu said while holding the 2 superior devil spirit devil cores. Now, Kong Shinmu clearly felt that it would not be easy to catch up with those powerhouses if he relied on himself. The key was that many aspects of strength improvement require time to settle, and not just cultivation resources. Therefore, Kong Shinmu did not intend to take the most cultivation resources. He had enough cultivation resources now. What he lacked was time. Therefore, instead of taking away most of the cultivation resources, it was better to evenly distribute the cultivation resources to the others so that they could all rise. For example, if each of them could exchange for the rising dragon marrow, the strength of their attacks could at least double, or even triple. Just like Xiao Yuhua's phoenix dance of the burning 9 heavens, Once she broke through to the Saint tier, her attack power would explode to an unimaginable level. It was even possible that after 3 to 5 consecutive attacks, the power would be comparable to Qin Xiaoye's Samsara incineration. This was a qualitative change. Hearing what Kong Xinmu said, everyone was a little surprised. They did not expect Kong Xinmu to share the demon hunting points equally with them. But the key was that they always felt that following Kong Xinmu was already making things difficult for Kong Xinmu. This was originally because of Kong Xinmu, which allowed them to obtain resources so quickly. Now, they wanted to take away Kong Xinmu's portion? They felt a little uneasy. For example, if they relied on themselves, the amount of cultivation resources they could obtain every month was 1. Now that they were following Jiang Xinwu, they could already obtain 2 portions of cultivation resources every month. And what Kong Xinmu said now was to let them get 3 cultivation resources every month, taking away the portion that originally belonged to Kong Xinmu. You don't have to say anything more. I've already decided. What I lack now is not cultivation resources, but time. Kong Xinmu said seriously, shutting everyone's mouth before they could speak. Xiao Yuhua and the others could not say anything more. However, Little White still said resolutely, we can split the harvest evenly. After all, the demon hunting points that we can exchange for are not too many. However, if it's a high-ranked demon general like the last time and we can kill it, we definitely won't take more. She was very clear that if a high-ranked demon general appeared, they would have to rely on Kong Xinmu to kill them, and most of them would have to be killed by Kong Xinmu's power. This level of reward was not fated with them. They were just helping out a little. How could they take away the majority? Kong Xinmu thought about it, then nodded and said, all right. Although he did not lack demon hunting points, if there were a lot of demon hunting points, he would still be willing to accept them. After all, he did not lack cultivation resources, but it did not mean that he did not need them. 2 high-ranked demon spirits that came to investigate the situation were killed by their team. Then, they realized that there were no more demons around them. It was mainly because of Jiang Xinwu. He had walked around the vicinity but did not find any void monsters. Instead, there were waves of roars coming from the distance. It could be heard that in some directions, there were dragon martialists enduring the impact of the Void Monster Legion. 2,000 miles away from Kong Xinmu and the others, Great Liang's Dragon Emperor and Dragon Emperor Yan were together, facing the attack of a demon army squad. This demon army squad was led by 3 demon generals, and there were dozens of demon spirits and hundreds of demon soldiers. A squad of demons rushed towards 2 Dragon Emperor powerhouses, especially the 3 demon generals, who were extremely strong. One of them was at the peak of the 9th level of the Reincarnation Rebirth Realm, and it was fighting fiercely with Great Liang's Dragon Emperor. Dragon Emperor Yan, fortunately I brought you with me this time, or else this emperor would not be able to fight against 3. Great Liang's Dragon Emperor was fighting against the strongest demon general alone, while Dragon Emperor Yan was fighting against the remaining 2 demon generals alone. The pressure was also not small. Me too. The Yan Dragon Emperor laughed heartily. I was the one who chose this small array core. If I hadn't chosen this place, I might not have met this demonic creature team. Speaking of which, I've implicated you. What do you mean by implicating me? Great Liang's Dragon Emperor laughed. It's all meat that comes to our door, let's eat together. As the sound of his voice faded, the high-ranked devil general who was fighting against him was continuously injured by his violent attacks, and his aura became weaker and weaker. Although the peak of the high-ranked demon general was very strong, Great Liang's Dragon Emperor, in the past 6 months, had cultivated the Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Technique, which was a powerful dragon martial technique that surpassed the high-level Origin Source Dragon Martial Technique. The cultivation of the Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Technique had improved Great Liang's Dragon Emperor's combat power a lot. Although he had only cultivated it to the human level, once he used it, it was also a killer move. It was worth noting that the consumption of the Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Technique was very frightening. Therefore, generally, it could only be used once or twice in a battle, at most no more than 3 times before it would be exhausted. It was a bit similar to Qin Xiaoye's Reincarnation Ignition, but the consumption was slightly less than Reincarnation Ignition, and it did not forcibly consume all of its power. Great Liang's Dragon Emperor was about to kill his opponent, and Dragon Emperor Yan also quickly seriously injured one of the 7th-tier high-ranked demon generals. The other high-ranked demon general wanted to escape when he saw the situation, but he was surrounded by 6 flame dragon envoys, and had nowhere to escape. As for the other dozens of demon spirits and hundreds of demon soldiers, they were intercepted by Great Liang's Dragon Emperor subordinates. They were all at the peak of the reincarnation retribution realm, and it was not a problem to deal with these small fries. Kill! Great Liang's Dragon Emperor and Dragon Emperor Yan had a good time killing this time, and the harvest was also very big. After all, high-rank demon generals were rarely seen on ordinary days. Even when the demonic creatures attacked, they either encountered a large legion and could not kill the enemy, and could only retreat, or only encountered a small group of scouts, and killing them did not gain much. But this time, their harvest was very big. For them, as long as they did not encounter powerful demonic creatures at the level of demon commander, or too many demon generals, there would not be too much problem to deal with. Awesome! This is what demon hunting is. Great Liang's Dragon Emperor's Holy Spirit Dragon Martial Technique burst out with a terrifying power, like a volcano shaking out from the void, killing the opponent in one fell swoop. Dragon Emperor Yan also just caught up and killed another demon general. But at this time, in the void not far from them, there was an incomparably rich devil chi. The appearance of this devil chi made all the dragon martial artists' faces change. This devil chi is too strong. Chapter 4484. Great Liang Dragon Emperor and Dragon Emperor Yan's expressions changed drastically. Let's go! They took away the demon cores of the high-ranked demon generals they had killed as fast as they could, then retreated with their men. They did not even bother to deal with the remaining demon spirits and demon soldiers. After obtaining the demon cores of high-ranked demon generals, the rest were just a small portion. It did not matter if they gave up. The key was that if they did not leave now, none of them would be able to escape once the demon commander made his move. The next moment, the dragon martial artists followed the two dragon emperors and retreated to the outside of the supreme barrier. They looked into the supreme barrier from thousands of feet away. What they saw almost scared them to death. What appeared with the demon commander's aura was indeed a demon commander-level void demonic creature. Behind the demon commander, there were 10 demon generals, hundreds of demon spirits, and tens of thousands of demon soldiers. This was a huge legion of void demonic creatures. They are going to attack the small array core. Inform the deans. Great Liang Dragon Emperor saw through the other party's intention at first glance. He immediately led his men and flew toward the deans not far away. The deans of the 4 dragon martial academies were all super Shenron. They guarded one direction of the supreme barrier so that they could reinforce the nearby areas as soon as possible. Great Liang Dragon Emperor flew directly toward the direction of the Northern Desolate Dragon Martial Academy's deans. Dragon Emperor Yen took a look, then turned around and flew toward Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy. At the same time, there were at least 20 similar demonic creature legions around the supreme barrier. In an instant, the deans of the 4 dragon martial academies received news from all directions. Large-scale demonic creature legions appeared everywhere, wanting to attack the small array core. I'm afraid the demonic creature army has officially moved out. Inform the Supreme Shenron. The scale of the demonic creatures' attack this time was the largest in history. They had already received news that at least 200,000 void demonic creatures rushed out from the void chasm. There were also at least 20 demon commanders comparable to Super Shenron. The deans of the 4 dragon martial academies were unable to clear out all the demonic creatures this time. If the Supreme Shenron did not come to help, the supreme barrier might really be broken this time. After the news was spread, they waited anxiously. The deans of the 4 dragon martial academies worked together with the other dragon emperor powerhouses to come up with a plan. There were at least 20 demonic beast legions, and it was impossible for them to destroy all of them. Now, they could only focus on attacking 4 of them, and then send people to harass the other 16 demonic beast legions. To harass the dragon emperor of the demonic beast legion was a very important task. Once the harassment failed, or they died, it was very likely that the enemy's legion would directly attack the small array eyes of the supreme barrier. Once the small formation core was broken, a gap would appear in the supreme barrier, and the void demons would be able to rush out of the supreme barrier and into the surrounding void, threatening the martial dragon continent. Unfortunately, given the current situation, this was all the deans of the 4 dragon martial academies could do. It was basically impossible for them to achieve more results. They could only restrain the demon commander-level powerhouses, and it was difficult to completely kill them. It was not easy to destroy a demonic creature legion, let alone 20 demonic creatures legions. There was no demonic creature army where Kong Shinmu was. However, he felt that the overall situation was not good. The aura of countless demonic beasts came from all directions. Although he could not see them, Kong Shinmu could already feel that the number of demonic beasts rushing out of the void cracks this time seemed to be much more than usual. After all, the aura of the demonic beasts in the entire Supreme Barrier suddenly became more than 10 times stronger. There was nothing happening where they were. About 2 hours passed, and they did not move around carelessly. Then they felt as if the void in the distance was torn apart, and then many extremely powerful dragon martial artists appeared from the void and rushed over. From afar, Kong Shinmu could feel the aura of these dragon martial artists, and it was not inferior to Yu Yaji and the other super divine dragon deans. Are the other subordinates of the Supreme Divine Dragon here to support us? But why didn't the Supreme Divine Dragon himself come? Kong Shinmu guessed the current situation, and he was somewhat puzzled. However, he did not know that there was really a Supreme Divine Dragon descending now. However, only such a Supreme Divine Dragon came to the Dragon Martial Continent to guard the Supreme Barrier. Even this Supreme Divine Dragon powerhouse had come to provide support in an extremely urgent situation. At the same time that the Supreme Barrier of the Dragon Martial Continent was attacked by the demonic army, the Supreme Divine Dragon side was also attacked by powerful demonic beasts. In other words, this was a premeditated attack. The Supreme Divine Dragon was held up and had no time to care about this side. In the end, he could only reluctantly send a Supreme Divine Dragon and 12 Super Divine Dragons to the space where the Dragon Martial Continent was located. The Supreme Divine Dragon was a level higher than the Demon Commander level. When he first arrived, he joined forces with 2 Super Divine Dragon subordinates and completely destroyed one of the demonic creature's legions. However, that was because the demonic creatures were not prepared. When the first demonic creature legion was destroyed, the other demonic creatures also prepared and formed a battle formation. Even if it was a Supreme Divine Dragon, it would be impossible to instantly destroy a demonic creature legion. The opponent's Demon Commander level was the main formation eye, and the other demonic creatures were the small formation eyes. Unexpectedly, they also formed a defensive barrier. Even if the Supreme Divine Dragon attacked, it would be able to withstand for a period of time. At this time, almost all the major demonic creature legions launched an attack on the small formation eyes of the Supreme Barrier. With the overall strength of a demonic creature legion, it would not take too long to break a small formation eye of the Supreme Barrier. In the previous hour, it could be said that many Dragon Emperor experts were desperately trying to delay, and even Dragon Emperor experts had paid with their lives. But now, they could not delay any longer. When the Supreme Divine Dragon arrived, the demonic creatures launched the most violent attack. The entire Supreme Spirit formation began to tremble and sway. It was the same where Kong Shinmu was. He saw that the Supreme Barrier behind him seemed to be attacked by some kind of power. The intensity of the dim flickering was not quite the same as before, and it looked like it was about to be extinguished. I'm afraid it's in trouble, Kong Shinmu thought to himself. Unfortunately, with his strength, he really could not help much in this kind of situation. He could only stick to his post and guard the small formation eye that he was at. If the demonic creatures that came could be dealt with, then he would kill them. If not, then he would retreat outside the Supreme Barrier. At this time, the 4 groups of dragon martial artists from Donghuang Yonggu College finally began to move. They had waited for 2 hours, but nothing happened. Chapter 4485. What they did not know was that the 2 superior demon spirits had passed right in front of them. Unfortunately, they had not discovered the 2 hidden superior demon spirits, so it was equivalent to giving the 2 superior demon spirits to Kong Shinmu. Kong Shinmu accepted it without hesitation. Demon hunting points were delivered to his doorstep anyway. Over the past 2 hours, the 4 teams of Donghuang students had nothing to do. Although there seemed to be a problem with the ultimate barrier, they felt that it was not their concern. They might as well join forces and attack Kong Shinmu's team. 4 teams against 1 team. How could they possibly lose? Therefore, they communicated with each other and decided to take advantage of this opportunity to get rid of Kong Shinmu. Even if they could not kill him, they would humiliate him. It was not uncommon for the dragon martialists to kill each other on the Void Rift battlefield, and it had happened many times before. Where there were people, there would naturally be enmity and resentment between the dragon martialist students. In an unguarded environment, it was not a big deal for them to kill each other. The 4 teams of Donghuang students surrounded the place where Kong Xinmu's team was. The short distance of 10 miles was covered in a blink of an eye. Each team had about 4 dragon martialists, and there were a total of 15 students, of which 5 were from the Dubhe district and 10 from the Tianxian district. Their combined strength was almost unimaginable. Of course, this was only what they thought. Kong Xinmu's team of 5 saw this group of people approaching and were already prepared. Ran even wanted to sneak attack in one direction, but Kong Xinmu stopped her. I keep having this feeling that something in the void is staring at us. Kong Xinmu narrowed his eyes, not even looking at the approaching Donghuang students, but looking at the surrounding void. His senses were very sharp, but even he could not see through the opponent's concealment ability. It was obvious that the opponent was very strong and could very well be hiding in the void, trying to give him a fatal blow. Fortunately, his resistance to the demonic chi of void demons had reached an extremely high level. Even a high-ranked demon general might not be able to kill him with a sneak attack. As the 15 Donghuang students approached, Kong Xinmu merely glanced at them. Kong Xinmu knew a few of them from the Dragon Martial Academy, and he even knew a few of their fighting styles. After all, he had observed their fights when he was in Donghuang Yonggu College. Of course, all of the Dragon Martial Academy students had improved by quite a bit. The dragon martial skills they used might not be the same as the ones Kong Xinmu had seen before. Kong Xinmu, hand over the 2 superior devil cores. That's right. Also, hand over all your dragon weapons and cultivation resources. Otherwise, you know the consequences. The 5 powerful dragon warriors from the Heavenly Center District took the lead and arrived in front of Jiang Shenwu. They surrounded the 5 of them and said with indifferent expressions, to the students of Donghuang Yonggu College, Kong Xinmu was a disgrace. He was a disgrace that they would never be able to raise their heads again in Donghuang Yonggu College. Therefore, they could not wait to kill Kong Xinmu. However, if Kong Xinmu was willing to hand over everything on him, they could still accept it. After all, they did not gain anything from the attack of the demons. If they could gain something from Kong Xinmu without any effort, it would be very good. Of course, they did not think that Kong Xinmu would hand over his things willingly. Therefore, they were already prepared to kill Kong Xinmu. I advise you not to make a move. Otherwise, the void monsters hiding in the vicinity will wipe us all out. Kong Xinmu looked around and gave a faint warning. Hee, a void monster hiding nearby? Where? Why don't I see them? The students of Donghuang Yonggu College laughed. Even if there are void demons hiding, they won't dare to attack us. There are so many of us. Why should we be afraid of a small demon hiding in the dark? The leader of the group was a student from the Dubhe district. Kong Xinmu could not remember his name. However, he was definitely not weak. After all, even now, there were only 9 students in the Dubhe district. 5 of the 9 students from the Dubhe district of Donghuang Yonggu College were here. Although there was still a huge gap between them and Yu Tiangshang, the fact that they were able to become students of the Dubhe district meant that they were among the top 10 in Donghuang Yonggu College. 5 of the top 10 dragon martial artists had come to surround Kong Xinmu. They really thought too highly of Kong Xinmu. However, Kong Xinmu was not afraid. He had many tricks up his sleeves. As long as he could withstand the first round of attacks, he would be able to resist their power. Cut the crap. If you want to attack, just do it. Kong Xinmu winked at Xiao Yuhua and the other 3. Then, before Kong Xinmu could finish his words, Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 launched a fierce and terrifying attack almost at the same time toward the place where Kong Xinmu was observing. Damn it, they actually attacked first. Kill them. No, they didn't attack us, but instead, they attacked in the void. The students of Donghuang Yonggu College were stunned. They had thought that Jiang Shenwu was planning to make the first move and attack them, but they did not expect that the place where Xiao Yuhua and the others attacked was actually the empty void. The ferocious attacks arrived, but nothing was revealed in the void. No, it was clearly there just now. They're too fast. Kong Xinmu's face darkened. He had wanted to force the hidden void monster out, but it had actually sensed their attacks and left the place first. It could be said that this void monster had extremely sharp senses. In fact, under the current circumstances, if it was an ordinary hidden void monster, it would definitely think that Kong Xinmu was trying to attack first and deal with the students of Donghuang Yonggu College. In that case, the void monster would not be able to dodge because it was unprepared. Unfortunately, the void monster was very agile and dodged directly, causing Xiao Yuhua and the others' attacks to miss. Ahaha, Kong Shinmu. Is this the void monster you said was hiding nearby? Looks like your senses aren't that great after all. How disappointing. You're still playing tricks even when you're about to die. The students of Donghuang Yongwu College laughed out loud. They were disdainful of Kong Shinmu's actions, but they also found it hilarious. This group of people was really annoying. Xiao Yuhua and the others trusted Kong Shinmu very much. Since Kong Shinmu had said so, there must be void monsters observing them in the surroundings. Chapter 4486. Kong Shinmu looked around. 15 powerful students from Donghuang Yongwu College had surrounded them. There were also unknown void monsters hiding in the surroundings. To Kong Shinmu, the situation was not too good. If it wasn't for Ling Yun's protection ring and the protection crystal given by the Supreme Divine Dragon, Jiang Shenwu really didn't know how to get out of this situation. No matter what, he was now in an invincible position. However, he did not really want to fight with these students from Donghuang Yongwu College. If the void monsters secretly attacked them, the situation would not be too good. Kong Shinmu himself would not be in trouble. However, if these students died, it would be a great loss to Donghuang Yongwu College. Although Kong Shinmu could not be bothered with the situation of Donghuang Yongwu College. If these people died here, the overall strength of the Dragon Martial Continent would be greatly reduced. At that time, it would be very difficult to fight against the void monsters. However, Kong Shinmu's words might not be enough to convince these guys in front of him. Then there was no other way. Don't you want to kill me? In that case, let's go to the Supreme Barrier and duel. Kong Shinmu said. Fighting outside the Supreme Boundary, there was no need to worry about being attacked by the hidden void monsters. After all, void monsters could not leave the Supreme Boundary's protection. However, hearing Kong Shinmu's words, the leader of the Heaven Core District students snorted coldly. What other tricks are you playing? Scram. I'll count to 3. If you don't hand over the things, we will attack. 1, 2, 3. As he said this, Kong Shinmu looked at him as if he was looking at an idiot. Was this guy really afraid that Kong Shinmu would play tricks, or was it something else? Kong Shinmu naturally wouldn't hand over everything. Since that was the case, they could only fight. If the void monsters in the dark attacked, then Kong Shinmu wouldn't be able to help them. Do it. That Dubhe district student was in the form of a divine dragon. At this moment, a terrifying samsara blizzard erupted from his body. He was at the 5th level of the Rebirth Tribulation Realm, and the 4th level of the Dragon Emperor's Inheritance Blood Essence. This level was much higher than Qin Xiaoye's. Unfortunately, in Kong Shinmu's eyes, no matter how strong the other party was, they couldn't deal with him. Around him, the 15 students of Donghuang Yongwu College all burst out with violent attacks, directly blasting at Kong Shinmu. At this moment, Protective Crystal. Xiaobai decisively activated the power of the Protective Crystal, and then a crystal boundary defense barrier condensed within a 5,000 feet radius around her, forming a powerful defense barrier. She activated the Protective Crystal and directly protected all 5 of them. At the same time, the attacks of the surrounding students of Donghuang Yongwu College all landed on the crystal boundary defense barrier. They could even kill an upper-level devil general if they joined forces. But when these attacks landed on the crystal boundary defense barrier, they didn't even cause the slightest ripple. What? The 15 students of Donghuang Yongwu College all turned pale when they saw this. They didn't expect Kong Shinmu to have such a defensive technique. He could actually block all of their attacks. Moreover, at this moment, Kong Shinmu's blood-red devouring power arrived, swallowing all the samsara powers of the 15 students into his body, turning them into his own, and increasing his resistance against the 15 students' powers. In just a short while, Kong Shinmu was almost invincible. This crystal boundary defense barrier could last for the time it took for a joss stick to burn out. Within this time, no matter what the other party did, they would not be able to threaten Kong Shinmu and the others. Just as the students from the Donghuang Dragon Martial Academy were in shock, a scream came from the crowd all of a sudden. Then they saw a student from the Dragon Martial Academy whose divine dragon body seemed to have been slashed by sword chi, turning into countless pieces on the spot. The scream stopped abruptly. One of the 15 students died on the spot. Most importantly, no one here had seen how he died, and it was even to the extent that they hadn't sensed any devil energy. What's going on? Who is it? Kong Shin-mu, how dare you play tricks? The students were instantly enraged. I already told you, there's a hidden void demon nearby. You don't believe me? Kong Shin-mu said calmly inside the crystal boundary defense barrier. He was now in an invincible position, but the students of the Eastern Emperor Dragon Martial Academy had no protection. The void demon had just launched a sneak attack, and it happened to be the moment when the other party was the least vigilant. It killed a student of the Heavenly Jade District in one fell swoop. Moreover, even Kong Shin-mu didn't know how the other party did it. The hidden void demon had yet to show up, and Kong Shin-mu didn't know what level of existence it was, but to be able to kill a Heavenly Jade student in one fell swoop, its strength was at least at the level of a mid-level demon general. Level 5? Level 6? It might even be a level 7 high-level demon general. The other party's concealment method was too strong. Even Kong Shin-mu couldn't sense its exact location, and its speed was so fast that it didn't reveal any demonic chi when it attacked. Kong Shin-mu, get out here. Give us an explanation. The students of Donghuang Yongwu College panicked when they saw someone die. The dragon god's body was sliced into pieces in the void. They didn't know what happened at all. They didn't even know who attacked just now. There's no demonic chi. It's definitely not a void demon. Kong Shin-mu, how dare you kill your own people, you're cruel. Someone gritted his teeth and shouted. Kong Shin-mu couldn't be bothered to explain, he just snorted coldly and said, "Aren't you the cruel ones? Who's causing trouble at this time? If you didn't surround me, why would you let your own people be killed? So, Gang Zi was really killed by you? Damn it, get out here." Someone roared angrily. 14 Dragon Emperor level students surrounded Kong Shin-mu's protective crystal barrier, shouting madly, at the same time alert for possible sneak attacks in the surrounding void. However, under such circumstances, another Heavenly Jade student let out a scream, but it stopped abruptly. His wind attribute dragon god's body was also sliced into pieces in the void, and he died on the spot. Go, we can't stay here anymore. There's something wrong with this Kong Shin-mu. The remaining 13 people panicked when they saw this situation. People are most afraid of the unknown, and now they don't even know what is hunting them. How can they not be afraid? And under the eyes of so many people, the other party's attack was not discovered. It's terrifying. Chapter 4487. The 13 of them quickly flew out of the barrier. The distance of about 10 miles was like the end of the world to them. While they were escaping, another student from Tianxian District, and even another student from Tianshu District, were chopped into pieces by that strange attack. Such a situation was truly terrifying. Leaving behind the skeletons of 4 students that had been chopped into pieces, the remaining 11 students from Donghuang Yongwu College finally escaped from the boundary. After they got out of the boundary, they looked back and saw the skeletons of their 4 companions that had been chopped into pieces. They instantly felt a chill run down their spines. This Kong Shin-mu is too strange. Until now, they still thought that it was Kong Shin-mu who had secretly killed their people. But soon, their expressions changed drastically. They discovered that outside the protective crystal barrier that Kong Shin-mu and the other 4 were in, the void was faintly flickering. Then, 2 small monsters appeared from the void. Those 2 monsters did not emit demonic energy, and they actually looked like humans. They were dressed in black, a man and a woman. The woman was in front. Her long black hair that reached her hips made her look enchanting and charming. Her facial features were exquisite and perfect, no different from a human's. Her black clothes were tight, outlining her graceful curves from top to bottom. As for the man, he held a black dagger in his hand that seemed to be stained with dragon blood. Although these 2 silhouettes looked like humans and did not emit demonic chi, it was obvious that they belonged to a tribe of void beasts at a glance. Because, behind them, a few more gigantic figures gradually appeared. It was the void aberrations. She's from the demon tribe. The remaining 11 students from Donghuang Yongwu College suddenly turned pale. They did not expect to encounter the demon tribe. To put it simply, the demon kin race was the ruler of the void monsters. To the demon kin race, the void monsters were like livestock that they reared, just tools that they sent out to fight. Even the demon commander-level void monsters had to submit to any of the demon tribe. Behind the man and woman, four huge figures appeared. Each of them was a high-rank devil general, and emitted an incomparably terrifying aura. They weren't originally here, but after the male and female devil cultivator appeared, they used some sort of method to teleport the four superior demon generals over. It's actually the demonic humans. When Kong Shinmu saw a man and a woman appear outside the protective crystal barrier, his expression turned ugly. Now, he was basically trapped here. The man from the Devil Cultivator clan clearly had an extremely terrifying strength. The reason why he was able to kill them without leaving a trace was because the man did not transform into his devil body. He was only in his human form and had killed the four of them with less than 30% of his strength. The black dagger in his hand was an extremely high-level MO weapon. A man and a woman who could command four superior devil generals. With such power appearing around Kong Shinmu had no intention of escaping at all. There was no way he could escape. The five of them were all trapped here. On the other hand, the 11 students from Donghuang Yonggu College had already escaped from the boundary and should be fine. I didn't expect it to be the demon tribe. The faces of the 11 students outside were all pale. Looking at the devil race and the four superior devil generals who were separated by a supreme spirit formation, their hearts were already trembling. They didn't expect that what Kong Shinmu said was actually true. There really were void monsters hiding around them. They didn't listen to his advice, and as a result, 4 of them died. If they hadn't attacked Kong Shinmu and instead focused on guarding their surroundings, the other party might not have been able to succeed in their encirclement. Unfortunately, their thoughts were all on Kong Shinmu and they didn't listen to Kong Shinmu's words at all, which led to such a terrible outcome. The death of 4 students was an unacceptable loss for them. It should be known that the 4 students had fought alongside them for too long. It was extremely difficult to find such a strong person to join their team. The 4 teams were in low spirits with 1 dead each. Look, the demon tribe doesn't seem to have any intention of attacking Kong Shinmu's team? At this moment, someone among them suddenly said, "That's really the case." Many people's faces changed drastically. These 2 demon tribe members are extremely powerful, and there are 4 superior devil generals. If they attack, they can definitely break the defense of Kong Shinmu's team. They didn't know that Kong Shinmu's defense was the protective crystal of the Supreme Divine Dragon, which possessed supreme power. Not to mention the 4 superior devil generals. Even the 2 demon tribe members who were stronger than the superior devil generals couldn't break the protective crystal's defensive barrier. Because they knew that they couldn't break it, these void demons couldn't be bothered to attack Kong Shinmu. They directly looked at the Supreme Boundary's small formation core, and the students of Donghuang Yonggu College who were watching from outside the small formation core. They really aren't attacking Kong Shinmu. How can this be? Could it be Kong Shinmu is their accomplice? It's very likely. In the past, we only heard of the existence of the demon tribe, but never heard of them appearing in the void crack. This is the first time the demon tribe has appeared in the sky of our dragon martial continent. Could it be that Kong Shinmu colluded with them to come here? The students of Donghuang Yonggu College were all bewildered. We'll keep watch here. Third brother, you go back to the void disk first and report the situation here. Just say that Kong Shinmu colluded with the void demons and is about to attack our small formation core. Soon, the leader of the Heavenly Center District students said solemnly. Immediately, a dragon martial artist turned around and flew toward the distant starry sky, planning to go back and report the situation here. The void demons are the rulers of the void demons. They govern all the void demons and are also our real enemy. Inside the Supreme Boundary, Kong Shinmu was protected by the protective crystal, and his face was extremely ugly. They said that we colluded with the void demons. If this gets out, I'm afraid we... Xiao Yuhua heard the words of the people outside the Supreme Boundary and was a little worried. Don't be afraid. Kong Shinmu shook his head. We got the Supreme Protective Crystal, the Dean and the others must know about it. It's too presumptuous to conclude that we colluded with the void demons just because they didn't attack the Protective Crystal. After hearing Kong Shinmu's words, everyone was relieved. Kong Shinmu was right. It was too presumptuous to conclude that they colluded with the void demons just because of this. There was no other evidence to prove it. Chapter 4488. I wonder what these little fellows have to do with the dragon god? Right at this moment, the two void devils suddenly spoke in the human language of the martial dragon continent. The man and woman observed Kong Shinmu's group of 5 curiously. Princess! The void devil faced the young girl with a respectful expression. His tone was filled with incomparable reverence. With the protection of the peerless divine dragon, they will definitely be seen as geniuses among the dragon warriors. Since we've encountered them, we can't let them go. But we can't break the dragon god's protection. The young female void demon being addressed as princess seemed to be a little conflicted. There should be a time limit to this protection, the void demon said respectfully. The void fiend man respectfully guessed, let us first follow the plan and break through the formation core of the supreme barrier, it won't be too late to deal with them later. The void demon girl nodded. From her demeanor and expression, she was no different from the humans of the Longwu continent. If it weren't for the 4 high-ranked demon generals following behind them, listening to her orders respectfully, no one would have thought she was a void demon. Let's begin. Immediately after, the void devil cultivator girl raised her hand, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Then, she ordered the 4 high-ranked devil generals to start attacking the small formation cores on the supreme barrier. It was almost impossible for a mere high-ranked demon general to break the formation core. Even if they worked hard for a few years, they wouldn't make any progress. However, at this time, the 4 high-ranked devil general level monsters did not directly attack the small formation core of the supreme barrier. Instead, they assisted in their attacks. They released all the demonic energy in their bodies. The demonic energy was so dense that it almost drowned the space where Kong Shinmu and the others were. The devil chi gathered around the small formation eye of the Supreme Sword incantation. The students of the Eastern Imperial Dragon Martial Academy, who were outside the Supreme Sword art, felt uneasy when they saw this scene. If the other party could really break through the small formation core of the Supreme Barrier, they would probably all be killed. There were originally 11 of them left, and they sent one of them back to the Void Disk to report the news. They also sent 3 people to fly in different directions of the Supreme Barrier, intending to inform the Dean of the Super Dragon School. Unfortunately, the Super Shenron powerhouses were now being held back by more than 20 void beasts, and they were located very far away from each other. It would probably take a long time for them to get the news from their side. Come, let's retreat first. The students of Donghuang Yonggu College all had ugly expressions. They all planned to retreat. I didn't think that Kong Shinmu would collude with the void demons. He's too despicable. Chu Qingyun was right. This Kong Shinmu can use the void demon's demonic techniques. How is that a counterattack talent? He's clearly a lackey of the void demons. They said hatefully. Now they could no longer see the protective crystal barrier that was submerged by the demonic aura, but they did not feel any energy erupt where Jiang Shenwu was, which meant that the group of demonic creatures had not attacked Jiang Shenwu yet. If Jiang Shenwu wasn't colluding with the void devil, how could the void devil appear in this direction so coincidentally? Why would they not attack Kong Shinmu when they were so close? In their hearts, Kong Shinmu was already recognized as a traitor. The remaining 8 of them left one after another. They didn't go to other places to guard the boundary. Instead, they planned to return to the void disk. Outside the void disk, there was also a layer of the boundary. Because the area of protection was small, its defensive strength was far stronger than the boundary around the void chasm. Therefore, the void disk was definitely safe. Unfortunately, these people were a little slow in escaping. Before they could get far, the void demon male took out a round ball from his bosom. This round ball was the size of a human fist. Starlight shone within it, as if the ball was filled with a universe. This was the void demon race's ultimate treasure. If it were other void demons, they naturally wouldn't be able to obtain such an ultimate treasure. However, this time, the void demon princess had personally made a move and could use this ultimate treasure. Moreover, this ultimate treasure could only be activated by the royal blood of the void demon race. When the ultimate treasure appeared, the void demon girl, who was also the demon princess, bit her finger and dripped her blood onto the round ball. Immediately after, the round ball immediately devoured all the surrounding demonic chi. Void Saint Magic Ball. The void devil race girl let out a soft cry, and all the demonic aura in the surroundings was absorbed into the void devil race's treasure. Even the 4 high-ranked devil generals were sacrificed. The bodies of the 4 high-ranked demon generals were all sucked into the void Saint Magic Ball. Then it completely devoured them. Not even a bit of their demon cores was left. Outside the protective crystal barrier that Kong Shinmu was in, clarity was finally restored. Only 2 void demons and a void saint magic ball that was full of demonic chi were left. The void saint magic ball immediately attacked the small formation core on the supreme barrier. With a loud bang, it shattered the formation core with boundless demonic chi. The small formation core is broken. Kong Shinmu's expression changed drastically. Logically speaking, if void demons wanted to break the small formation core, they would need at least a powerful existence at the level of a demon commander. Otherwise, it would be impossible to break the small formation core. Moreover, a demon commander would need at least 1 to 4 hours to do so. After all, the surrounding supreme barrier was the supreme power of the supreme divine dragons. How could it be broken so easily? Even if the small formation core was the entire supreme barrier's weak point, it couldn't be broken in an instant. But now, the appearance of the Void Saint Magic Ball had broken this rule. The 2 Void Demons had actually used the Void Saint Magic Ball to shatter the small formation core in an instant. Although the Void Saint Magic Ball had devoured all the cultivation and demonic bodies of the 4 high-ranked demon generals as a sacrifice, the current situation was very bad for the Martial Dragon continent. The Void Demons had personally made a move and used the Void Demon army as a cover. What they really wanted to break was actually the small formation core on Kong Shinmu's side. How could Kong Shinmu have expected such a situation? Even now, he couldn't even protect himself. The protective crystal could only last for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. After that, the supreme power of the protective crystal would dissipate. At that time, Kong Shinmu and the others would be in trouble. Although they still had 3 more protective crystals, they couldn't possibly use all of them at once, right? Seeing that the 2 void demons had actually opened the small formation core, cracks immediately appeared on the supreme boundary nearby. Like the surface of ice, cracks started to spread from the place where the small formation core had been shattered to the surroundings. A gap had appeared in the supreme barrier. Let's go! Chapter 4489. The Void Demon turned around and glanced at Kong Shinmu and the others. With a wave of his hand, a wave of demonic aura gathered and dragged up the protective crystal barrier that Kong Shinmu and the others were in. Immediately after, the Void Demon brought Kong Shinmu and the others away from the supreme barrier. What the hell? Kong Shinmu and the others never expected that they would be brought along. This Void Devilman was actually able to drag away even the defensive barrier of the protective crystal. Although they couldn't break through the protective crystal barrier, the barrier would lose its effect sooner or later if they were brought along. At that time, unless the Supreme Dragon God appeared in person, it would be impossible to rescue Kong Shinmu and the others. Now, Kong Shinmu and the others had no choice but to watch helplessly as they were dragged away along with the protective crystal barrier. A gap had appeared in the Supreme Barrier. Obviously, the Supreme Barrier in other places was showing signs of becoming weaker, and many people must have sensed it immediately. Soon, someone would come over to check. Of course, that was under normal circumstances. And now, the powerhouses on the dragon martial artist side were being held up by the demonic army. It would probably take a long time for someone to come over to check. They're out. Outside the Supreme Barrier, the remaining 8 students from Donghuang Yongwu College were just about to turn around and escape. When they heard the commotion behind them, they turned around and saw 2 void devils, a man and a woman, dragging Jiang Shenwu and the others inside the defensive barrier, flying out from the gap in the Supreme Barrier. This scene scared them so much that they covered their heads and scurried away. They didn't dare to stay at the same place at all and fled into the distance at a terrifying speed. At the same time, the East Emperor seals on their wrists kept flashing, calling for their respective mentors to help. Obviously, they could only ask for help from the mentors of Donghuang Yongwu College, regardless of whether they could call for help or not. This was their only chance. Let's split up and escape. Someone made a suggestion. In any case, even if they joined forces, they would not be a match for the 2 void demons, so it was better to split up and escape. Perhaps one of them would be able to escape, but if they gathered together, none of them would be able to escape. However, then, Kong Shinmu saw the void demon suddenly disappear in front of him. Following that, some pitch-black marks appeared around the 8 Donghuang Yongwu College students who were fleeing in different directions. These pitch-black marks erupted in an instant and condensed into countless pitch-black daggers that shot towards them. Before they could escape far, They were completely annihilated by the eruption of these pitch-black marks. The Void Devil Man did not appear again. No one knew where he was now. Kong Shinmu's expression was solemn. The death of the 8 Donghuang Yonggu College students was certainly a pity for him, but he couldn't care less about it in his current situation. He couldn't even guarantee his own life. It was very likely that the Void Devil Man was hiding around them, waiting for the protective barrier formed by the supreme power to dissipate. Once the protective barrier dissipated, the Void Devil Man would directly attack and kill them. We have to ensure that the protective crystal barrier can be connected at all times and last as long as we can. Kong Shinmu reminded Xiao Yuhua and Ran Ran with his gaze, and mainly nodded at Ran Ran. Now, only Kong Shinmu, Xiao Yuhua, and Ran Ran were left with protective crystals. Next, Kong Shinmu planned to let Ran Ran connect the protective crystal barrier to extend the lives of the 5 of them. At this time, Kong Shinmu was a little regretful. Why did he try it back then? However, he immediately thought that if he hadn't tried it back then, who knew how long the protective crystal barrier could last? If he had accidentally connected it, wouldn't they have been directly killed by the Void Devil Man? Now, at least they could safely connect the crystal barrier and use it to protect themselves. It could be considered a blessing in a misfortune. If they were lucky, they might even be able to wait for a powerhouse to save them. He just didn't know what level the Void Devil Man and the Void Devil Princess were at. The Void Devil Man hadn't transformed into his demonic body yet, and could only display less than 30% of his strength. Yet, he was able to easily kill the students of Donghuang Yonggu College. From this, it could be seen that his strength was at least at the Dragon Martial Academy's teacher level. He might even be stronger than a teacher. The Void Devil Man's fighting style was said to be the same as that of the Dragon Martial Artists. Originally, Void Devils could obtain the essence blood of an ancient demon god and then cultivate it, transforming into a demon god to fight. After the Void Devil Man disappeared, the Void Devil Princess raised her hand and used her demonic chi to bring Kong Shinmu and the others forward. They weren't moving in the direction of the Void Disc, but in the direction of the Martial Dragon Continent below. The 2 of them seemed to want to directly pass through the Martial Dragon Continent's barrier and head to the Martial Dragon Continent. They want to break the barrier above the Martial Dragon Continent? Kong Shinmu's heart skipped a beat. If the barrier was broken, then the Martial Dragon Continent would be open, and the Void Devils could descend on the Martial Dragon Continent at any time. At that time, the people would be plunged into misery and suffering. That was the Martial Dragon Continent's last barrier, and the supreme boundary was the first barrier. But now, these 2 Void Devils wanted to break both barriers in succession. This made Kong Shinmu feel that they were crazy. It was relatively easy to break the supreme boundary. After all, it was created in a hurry. However, the protective barrier of the Martial Dragon Continent was extremely powerful. Even if a peerless divine dragon were to personally come, it would be very difficult to break it. Originally, they were only afraid of the countless void demonic creatures continuously attacking and using their accumulation to break the protective barrier. But looking at the situation now, it seemed that the 2 of them wanted to break the barrier with lightning speed. Little guys, your strength seems to be not bad. Otherwise, you wouldn't have been surrounded by so many dragon martial artists. The Void Devil Princess had a charming appearance and a slim and alluring figure. She looked like a young girl, but her whole body was filled with a kind of mature wind and clouds. As she flew forward with Kong Shinmu and the others, she said with great interest, "Kong Shinmu, your name is Kong Shinmu, right? You're being targeted by 15 of them, but you're clearly only at the 7th level of the Nirvana Tribulation Realm, and your inherited blood essence is only at the 6th level of the Dragon King. What's so special about you?" Hearing her question, Kong Shinmu fell silent. He couldn't possibly communicate with the Void Devil Princess who was about to invade the Martial Dragon Continent, right? Chapter 4490. Not talking. The Void Demon Princess's interest grew. She looked at Kong Shinmu and chuckled. "Maybe you don't know, but we Void Demons aren't enemies with you. It's just that your peerless divine dragons have banded together to invade our territory, so we had no choice but to resist. The Martial Dragon Continent you're in can be considered the cradle of their Martial Dragon warriors. There are hundreds of Martial Dragon continents like yours in this great world. Now that we've destroyed one of them, those peerless divine dragons don't care at all, do you understand? That's why they have more important matters to attend to, so they won't come to your place to save you. Your martial dragon continent is about to be destroyed. The Void Demon Princess raised her hand and urged Kong Shinmu and the others to follow her. At the same time, the Void Demon Orb, revolved around her body and flew slowly, looking completely defenseless. Hearing the Void Demon Princess's words, Laughing Flower looked at the Void Demon Orb, seemingly eager to make a move. She wondered if she could get her hands on the Void Demon Orb and prevent the enemy from breaking through the Martial Dragon Continent's protective barrier. The possibility of that was quite high. If the enemy dared to break through the barrier with just 2 people, they must be relying on the Void Demon Orb. If Jiang Xinwu and the others were to obtain the Void Sacred Devil Orb or destroy it, the other party's plan would fall apart without them even needing to attack. However, it would be difficult to obtain the Void Demon Orb. It would be even more difficult to destroy the Void Demon Orb. The Void Demon Orb might have its own consciousness. Just the Void Demon Orb's power alone could probably crush 100 Kong Shinmus into pieces. With Kong Shinmu's strength, it would be a fool's dream to destroy the Void Demon Orb. Our first protective crystal is about to end. Kong Shinmu quickly discovered that the protective crystal barrier around them was becoming fainter and fainter. In the void around the protective crystal, there seemed to be some faint devil chi lingering. It was obvious that this devil chi belonged to the male void devil. He had been keeping watch in the surroundings because he wanted to take the opportunity to kill off Kong Shinmu and the others. After all, Kong Shinmu and the others were protected by the unparalleled divine power. They were definitely the younger generation that the unparalleled divine dragon had high hopes for. Once they were killed, the martial dragon continent would suffer a great loss. Ran Ran was now extremely calm. She carefully observed her surroundings. The protective crystal's defensive barrier had a total of 99 layers. It was a supreme level of power that could destroy anything in the martial dragon continent. Even the Void Demon Clan's experts couldn't do anything to it. However, as the energy of the protective crystal dissipated into the surrounding space, the protective barrier of the protective crystal dissipated layer by layer. From the 99th floor, he quickly retreated to the 90th floor. Then it was the 80th floor. Level 70. When there were only 50 layers of protective barriers left, Ran Ran decisively crushed the protective crystal in her hand. Another layer of protective crystal appeared and spread out, protecting Kong Shinmu and the others. The outer layer of the protective barrier had only dissipated halfway. Logically speaking, it was a bit early to put up the protective barrier. However, Ran Ran relied on her intuition towards danger and accurately continued it. At the same time that she crushed the protective crystal, a burst of devil chi suddenly erupted from the surrounding void. The male void devil who was hiding actually took advantage of this opportunity to attack. Ran Ran's prediction was not wrong. The male void devil wanted to wait for the protective barrier to weaken a little before he launched his attack. To him, there was no need to wait for the protective barrier to dissipate completely, because he had enough strength to break through the remaining half of the protective barrier. Unfortunately, Ran Ran had predicted his plan in advance and activated another protective crystal in advance. The terrifying devil chi along with the dagger's blade light came crashing down, completely shattering the outer layer of the protective barrier. However, it immediately bombarded the protective crystal barrier that had just been activated. With a loud bang, it did not cause any damage. The male void devil appeared, his cold eyes looking at Ran Ran with some surprise. Obviously, Ran Ran's judgment had surprised him. If it were not for Ran Ran, he was afraid that his attack would have succeeded. With just one attack, everyone could feel the strength of the male void devil. With just one attack, he could break through half of the protective crystal's power. This male void devil is at least at the level of a super divine dragon. I wonder what kind of ancient demon god's body is? Kong Shinmu and the others did not look too good. After all, the power displayed by the void devil was too strong. Even if a powerhouse at the peak level of the Dragon Emperor came, he would not be a match for this male void devil. As for the Void Devil Princess, Kong Shinmu did not know what method she had, but thinking about it, she should not be weaker than this male void devil. After all, she was still a princess. Why don't we just use the power of the Saint Devil Orb to kill them? Seeing that Kong Shinmu and the others were still alive and kicking, the male void devil said gloomily, "They are just small fries, don't worry about them." The Void Devil Princess chuckled. The Saint Devil Orb is what we rely on to break the protective barrier of the martial dragon continent. If we waste its power now, I am afraid that when the time comes, we will be guilty. The male void devil immediately lowered his head. Princess is right. Thus, the male void devil glanced at Kong Shinmu and continued to fly in front of them, no longer paying attention to them. Instead, he calculated the time and decided to wait for the protective crystal's time to pass before attacking them. Kong Shinmu and the others were burning with anxiety. They did not have any ability to resist at all. They could only hope that the students of Donghuang Yangwu College who went to report the news could attract the attention of the Supreme Divine Dragon. Perhaps the Supreme Divine Dragon would rush over to help. However, the situation did not seem to be very good. This time, the Void Devil clan was already prepared. They took the opportunity to cause trouble elsewhere, making the Supreme Divine Dragons unable to take care of themselves. Just now, in the Supreme Barrier, Kong Shinmu felt that only one Supreme Divine Dragon had descended on his side. The other Supreme Divine Dragon was very likely to be delayed by the Void Devil army and could not come over. What Kong Shinmu did not know was, not to mention the students of Donghuang Yangwu College who went to report the news, a total of 3 students were killed by the male Void Devil before they could go far. The male Void Devil was extremely fast. He even chased after them and killed them before returning. Kong Shinmu and the others did not notice. In other words, whether Kong Shinmu was a traitor and colluded with the Void Devil, or the Void Devil had appeared in the Supreme Barrier, this news could not be transmitted to the Supreme Divine Dragon as quickly as possible. By the time the Supreme Divine Dragon found out, it was very likely that something would have happened here. Kong Shinmu and the others still had 2 protective crystals left. Each protective crystal could last them for an incense stick's worth of time. Chapter 4491. Kong Shinmu's group of 5 was brought forward through the void. Because there was no resistance in the void, they flew faster and faster. The vast martial dragon continent was getting closer and closer to them. They could clearly see the huge forest in the center of the martial dragon continent, as well as the mountains and rivers. Everything seemed grand and majestic. And at the edge of the martial dragon continent was a huge void that surrounded the continent. Near the edge of the martial dragon continent were many forbidden lands. For example, the Yen Dragon Emperor's court was not far from one of the forbidden lands. Outside the forbidden lands was the void. If more and more dragon emperors were born, the forbidden lands would move further and further away, and more dragon emperor kingdoms would be established. Thus, the martial dragon continent would become more and more vast. The protective barrier around the martial dragon continent enveloped the entire martial dragon continent. If it was a dragon martial artist that lived in the martial dragon continent and had not joined the Dragon Martial Academy, or had not reached the level of a dragon emperor, they would not be able to see such a magnificent scene. As for Kong Shinmu, he was overlooking the entire martial dragon continent with a complicated feeling. Soon, the 2 experts of the Void Devils would bring their race's holy artifact, the Void Saint Magic Ball, to destroy the martial dragon continent's protective barrier. Once the barrier was destroyed, it would not be easy to repair it. At that time, it would be easy for the Void Devils or Void Devils to invade. If that happened, the entire martial dragon continent would become very dangerous. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu could not think of any way. Even the protective crystal given by the peerless divine dragon could not help much. It could only delay the time of their deaths. Could it be that I can only let the black dragon's consciousness appear? Kong Shinmu's face darkened. He would never let the black dragon's consciousness appear under normal circumstances because it was too dangerous. It was something that did not belong to the martial dragon continent. It was an existence that surpassed the entire martial dragon continent. Even the peerless divine dragon might not be able to reach the level of the black dragon's consciousness. Kong Shinmu had learned from his father that the black dragon's consciousness could only come into contact with the ancestral dragon's consciousness. How terrifying was that? The martial dragon continent was hiding a secret. Kong Shinmu did not know if the supreme mystical dragons knew about these secrets, but there was no doubt that these secrets were extremely dangerous. Regarding the appearance of the black dragon's consciousness, perhaps even the supreme mystical dragons did not expect it. If the black dragon's consciousness appeared to fight against the 2 void demons, it might be able to kill them, but Kong Shinmu couldn't predict what the consequences would be. If it comes down to it, I'll have to risk it all. In any case, if the Void Devils break the barrier, the martial dragon continent will be destroyed, and I will also die. I might as well let the black dragon's consciousness come out and fight. The black dragon's consciousness had yet to fully recover, and one could sense that it was still very weak. However, since it had possessed Kong Shinmu, it would definitely save Kong Shinmu. Moreover, if he used up all his energy, it was very likely that he would continue to fall into a deep slumber. If he fell into a deep slumber, then everything would be fine. However, Kong Shinmu wasn't sure what kind of state the black dragon's consciousness was in. Moreover, could the black dragon's consciousness, which possessed the power to devour the heavens, contend against the void holy magic sphere? The power of the void saint magic sphere seemed to be very strong, surpassing the supreme mystical dragon level. Otherwise, it would not have been able to break the barrier. Just as Kong Shinmu's thoughts were running wild, Xiao Yuhua crushed another protective crystal, allowing them to remain under the protection of the protective crystal. Oh, there are quite a lot of things. The male void demon was about to make a move, but seeing this situation, he immediately became interested. Don't tell me that all of you have a protective crystal? Looks like we've caught a big fish. I'm also quite surprised. The 5 of them don't seem to be anything special among the dragon warriors. Could it be that they are really some kind of genius? The void demon princess's expression was also a little gloomy. However, the 2 void demons soon ignored Kong Shinmu and the others. They focused their gazes in front of them. The dragon martial continent was getting closer and closer, and they could already see the transparent supreme mystical dragon's protective barrier. That was the barrier they had to break. As long as that barrier was broken, the dragon martial continent would be invaded by the void demons, and it would become a cruel battlefield. Even the supreme mystical dragon would not be able to wipe out all the void demons that had invaded the dragon martial continent. The void demons would forever be the nightmare of the dragon martial continent's dragon martial warriors. A demon general could destroy a dragon emperor's country. A demon spirit could destroy a dragon city. This was a devastating blow to the dragon martial continent. Protective crystal. Continue. As they approached the barrier, Kong Shinmu sensed that the surrounding barrier was starting to dissipate. He could only use the last protective crystal and crush it, turning it into a defensive force to protect them. This is the second last one? At this time, the 2 void demons guessed that each of them had 1, so there were a total of 5. Now that Kong Shinmu was using it, they felt that it was the second last one. But in fact, Kong Shinmu's was already the last one. The last one had been used in an experiment. However, such a guess made the void demon princess and the man no longer care about Kong Shinmu and the others. Instead, they began their plan. The void saint magic ball flew up and spun rapidly in midair, erupting with a burst of demonic chi. It contained a boundless and terrifying power. At this moment, it erupted, causing the expressions of Kong Shinmu and the others to change slightly. If the void saint magic ball's power was used to kill them, even 100 protective crystals would be useless. In other words, the other party's void saint magic ball was intended to break the barrier of the dragon martial continent, so it was not used against them, allowing them to live until now. When the void saint magic ball erupted with all its power, the surrounding void shattered, and a spatial crack appeared in front of them. From this spatial crack, powerful demonic creatures at the level of high-ranked demon generals, middle-ranked demon generals, and low-ranked demon generals continuously appeared. After these demonic creatures appeared, they circled around the void saint magic ball. Their originally fierce expressions were now incomparably pious, as if they were facing the god that created them. Thousands of these powerful demonic creatures appeared one after another. Then, hundreds of them were devoured by the void saint magic ball. Just like before, their demonic cores and demonic bodies were completely devoured, becoming the void saint magic ball's power. The remaining void demonic creatures lined up in the surroundings, looking excitedly in the direction of the dragon martial continent. The void saint magic ball was about to break the barrier of the dragon martial continent. These void demonic creatures would soon have a large source of food. At this time, Kong Shinmu knew that he had no choice but to make a move. At the last moment, Kong Shinmu did not stubbornly stay within the protective crystal barrier. Instead, he walked out of the barrier without hesitation. Chapter 4492. Kong Shinmu hadn't tried summoning the Black Dragon's consciousness yet. But now, he had no choice but to summon the Black Dragon's consciousness. At this moment, countless high-rank demon generals were waiting for him. Those middle-rank and low-rank devil generals had already been devoured by the Void Saint Magic Ball, leaving not even a fragment behind. Only over 100 high-rank devil generals were left, guarding the surrounding void, facing the direction of the Void Saint Magic Ball with incomparable respect. These high-rank demon generals were most likely preparing to invade the martial dragon continent. The Void Demon and the princess widened their eyes as they looked at Kong Shin-mu, who had just walked out of the defensive barrier. Inside the barrier, Xiao Yuhua, Ran Ran, Xiao Bai, and Liang Xiao also looked at Kong Shin-mu in surprise. They didn't know why Kong Shin-mu would leave the barrier. Although this was the last protective crystal, who knew if reinforcements would arrive soon? Kong Shin-mu's actions seemed to indicate that he had given up hope. What they didn't know was that Kong Shin-mu was planning to summon the Black Dragon's consciousness while they still had the power of the protective crystal. Otherwise, if the Black Dragon's consciousness appeared, it would very likely implicate them. When Jiang Xinwu walked out of the defensive barrier, he dispelled his divine dragon form and transformed into a black-robed young man, walking in the void. The spatial devil man and the princess looked at him in surprise. "What are you doing?" The Void Demon princess was dumbfounded. The Void Demon tightened his grip on the pitch-black dagger. He looked at Kong Shin-mu cautiously. He didn't think that Kong Shin-mu had come out to die. After all, what was the point of dying at a time like this? "I'll come out and destroy your Void Saint Magic Ball," Kong Shin-mu said indifferently. He looked at the Void Saint Magic Ball. He didn't reveal any powerful aura. Instead, he seemed like an ordinary person as he walked toward the Void Saint Magic Ball. "You're courting death." Seeing this, the Void Demon being's expression finally darkened. After seeking the Void Demon Princess permission, he slashed the air with the dagger in his hand. With his strength, killing Kong Shin-mu would not require much effort at all. A single slash was more than enough. A pitch-black devil chi blade appeared out of thin air and abruptly appeared in front of Kong Shin-mu. A terrifying destructive aura enveloped his entire body, and it looked like he would be sliced into pieces by the demonic blades in the next moment. "Brother Jiang!" Kong Shin-mu! Xiao Yuhua and Ran Ran shouted. Even Ran Ran wanted to rush out of the defensive barrier like Kong Shin-mu. However, before she could do anything, Kong Shin-mu, who was supposed to be dead, suddenly emitted a black fog. This black fog contained an extremely terrifying aura of death, as well as a power that could devour everything. The black fog appeared around Kong Shin-mu and surrounded him, turning him into a black hole. The pitch-black devil chi blade was almost directly devoured by the black fog. Then, nothing happened. The devil chi blade was like a stone sinking into the sea, not stirring up any ripples. "What's going on?" The Void Demon being's expression darkened when he saw Kong Shin-mu shrouded in the black fog. He saw that the dragon martialist youth in front of him was surrounded by a terrifying black fog that made his heart palpitate. Moreover, the dragon martialist youth's eyes were tightly shut, as if he had fallen into a deep sleep. All of a sudden, Kong Shin-mu's eyes opened. But when he opened his eyes, they were pure black, and there was even a terrifying black fog spreading out from his eyes, as if mist was spreading out. At this moment, Kong Shin-mu was like a demon god that had descended. Behind him, the black fog slowly condensed into the shape of an incomparably huge black divine dragon. First was the dragon's tail, then the dragon's body, the dragon's claws, and finally the dragon's head. The 10,000 feet long black fog divine dragon appeared just like that. No matter which high-ranked demon general it was, they were like children's toys in front of this black fog divine dragon. "What is this?" The Void Demon being's expression changed drastically. He could feel the power of this huge black fog divine dragon. Although it was only a phantom, it made him feel an incomparable pressure, as if he was facing a dragon god. The appearance of this black fog divine dragon made the Void Saint Magic Ball, which was condensing its power, nervous. The Void Saint Magic Ball was surrounded by pitch-black devil chi. At this moment, it seemed to be trying to resist the black fog divine dragon. "I can't affect the Void Saint Magic Ball." The Void Demon being immediately gritted his teeth, and the devil chi in his body surged. Previously, when facing Kong Shin-mu and the others, he was too lazy to transform into the image of an ancient demon god and did not activate the ancient demon god bloodline. But now, the black fog surging out of Kong Shin-mu's body forced him to release the power of the ancient demon god bloodline. Otherwise, the Void Saint Magic Ball would probably be affected. Before he released the ancient demon god bloodline, He felt that the huge black fog divine dragon was nothing special. However, when his primordial demon god bloodline was activated and he transformed into a terrifying demon god with 6 heads and 6 arms, he could feel the terrifying aura of the giant black fog divine dragon even more clearly. The stronger you were, the more you could feel the power of this black fog divine dragon. It was a kind of overwhelming power that was impossible to resist. The 6 pairs of eyes of the void demon being that had transformed into a 6-headed and 6-armed demon god were filled with fear. When he transformed into an ancient demon god, he discovered that the terrifying aura of the black fog divine dragon completely suppressed him. No wonder even the Void Saint Magic Ball is so nervous, the Void Devil immediately yelled. Princess, take the Void Holy Magic Orb and leave first. There's something strange about this black dragon. After saying that, he charged towards the huge black fog divine dragon behind Kong Shin Mu. The body of the ancient demon god with 6 heads and 6 arms erupted with demonic aura that could shatter the void. Waves of demonic aura spread into the surroundings, creating ripples in the void. Finally, it formed a demonic aura shockwave that blasted towards the black fog divine dragon. However, the huge black fog divine dragon only glanced at him for a moment before a wave of black fog gathered and surged over, directly swallowing the devil chi shockwave. Like a stone sinking into the sea, there was no movement. It was as if the huge black fog divine dragon could swallow everything in this world. Chaotic heaven-devouring dragon. The void demon being thought of a legendary existence. Even though he had transformed into an ancient demon god with 6 heads and 6 arms, he still trembled as if he was facing death. Chapter 4493. Unfortunately, when the black dragon's consciousness took control of Kong Shinmu's body, it unleashed its own power. Even the void holy magic sphere wouldn't be able to escape. The pitch-black devouring power was like a wave of light that could destroy the universe, rapidly spreading in all directions. Just as the Void Devil Princess was about to escape with the Void Saint Devil Orb, the ancient demon celestial that the male Void Devil had transformed into had already been engulfed by the devouring power of the Void Devil Orb. A miserable howl came from the devouring power, but it quickly stopped. The ancient demon god's body didn't last long in the black fog of devouring power. The Void Saint Magic Sphere suddenly broke free of the Void Demonkin Princess control and flew out of her arms. Holy artifact! The Void Demonkin Princess expression changed drastically. She had never encountered a situation where the Void Saint Magic Sphere wasn't under her control. Generally speaking, as long as one possessed the royal bloodline of the Void Demonkin, they could easily control the Void Saint Magic Sphere, and the Void Saint Magic Sphere wouldn't go against their will. She wanted to escape with the Void Saint Magic Sphere, but the Void Saint Magic Sphere didn't flee. Instead, it stayed behind to fight against the terrifying Black Mist Divine Dragon. All the superior demon generals in the surroundings roared furiously at this moment, wanting to rush towards the Black Fog Divine Dragon. However, their sprinting figures were blocked in mid-air. The power of the Void Saint Magic Ball descended upon them when they were halfway through their charge, tearing their bodies apart and absorbing all of their power. The power of the Void Saint Magic Ball became even more terrifying and tyrannical. Soon, the Void Demonkin Princess received feedback from the Void Saint Magic Sphere. It said that if these high-ranked demon generals were devoured by the heaven-devouring dragon, its power would skyrocket, and there would be no way to stop it. Therefore, the Void Saint Magic Sphere devoured the high-ranked demon general's power ahead of time. That way, the two sides would still have the qualifications to fight. It said that the heaven-devouring dragon wasn't in its complete form and didn't possess such tyrannical power. Demonic energy rampaged. Devouring power erupted. The battlefield was filled with darkness. The two strongest existences of the universe were fighting in the sky above the martial dragon continent. The heaven-devouring dragon was the black dragon's consciousness. At this moment, it was relying on its recovered power to contend against the Void Saint Magic Sphere, which had devoured over 1,000 demonic creatures. Endless darkness shrouded the void. Even the power of the protective crystal formed from supreme power couldn't withstand such power at this moment. In the waves of pitch-black power, they were thrown far away together with the protective crystal barrier, and the protective crystal barrier began to shatter. Fortunately, they had been shaken off and were quite a distance away from the battlefield. In the void, they could see the two terrifying existences fighting from afar. What is this? Could it be that this is Kong Shinmu's backer? When they saw the pitch-black devouring divine dragon, it was as though they had seen something unbelievable. Although it looked like a phantom, it possessed a power that was even more powerful than a supreme divine dragon. This is Brother Zhong's true power. Ran Ran was pleasantly surprised when she saw this scene. I don't think so. It's very likely that he's just someone who's protecting Kong Shinmu. He doesn't usually appear, but once he's in danger, he'll come out to save him. Xiao Yuhua, on the other hand, was calm. Unfortunately, her guess was still wrong. A 10,000 feet long divine dragon, and it's just a phantom. Even a supreme divine dragon wouldn't have this kind of power, right? Liang Xiao couldn't help but sigh. They didn't feel that something was wrong. The four of them discussed for a while and felt that some powerful dragon martial artist elder had appeared to fight against the Void Holy Magic Ball. This guess was not wrong, but they were still too far away from the actual truth. Of course, this didn't matter. Their guess was more beneficial to Kong Shinmu, so that the existence of the Black Dragon's consciousness wouldn't be exposed. At this moment, the Void Holy Magic Ball and the consciousness of the devouring divine dragon finally broke out in battle. Near the Void Rift. The movement of the protective barrier of the distant dragon martial continent naturally couldn't reach here. The Blue Sky Calamity Dragon had already been here for an hour. Unfortunately, even he couldn't completely quell the Void demonic army around the Void Rift. There were just too many Void demonic creatures. The four super divine dragon deans and the super divine dragons that the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon had brought were now scattered around the Void Rift. They formed groups of 2 and cleared out the powerful demon marshals leading the demonic army. Each of the 20 demon marshals was equivalent to a super divine dragon. It was too difficult to kill all of them. Even the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon had only managed to kill 3 demon marshals in an hour. Moreover, there were already several gaps in the entire supreme barrier. Under such circumstances, many void demonic creatures had already surpassed the supreme barrier and rushed into the surrounding void. This situation was still acceptable. But the key was that the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon had sensed the aura of the Void Holy Magic Ball in this space. He came to a gap in the supreme barrier and discovered the aura of the Void Holy Magic Ball. It was obvious that the royal family of the Void demonic people had used the Void Holy Magic Ball to break through the small formation core here. The Blue Sky Calamity Dragon's huge body looked toward the protective barrier of the dragon martial continent in the distance and sighed. He informed the super divine dragons under him to gather in front of him. Everyone, gather all the talented dragon martial artists under you. We are preparing to retreat. Retreat? Why? The dean of Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Academy, Yu Yaji, had a look of resentment. There are still many talented geniuses in our dragon martial continent. They can provide many capable subordinates for you in the future. If we don't retreat, our losses will be even greater, the Blue Sky Calamity Dragon said coldly. The Void demonic people have launched an all-out attack above us. If I don't go back to support them, we will likely suffer a crushing defeat on the battlefield. The Void demonic people have brought the Void Holy Magic Ball to our Dragon Martial Continent. It seems that they have long planned to destroy the Dragon Martial Continent. With the Void Holy Magic Ball, even I am no match for them. Therefore, it is only a matter of time before the Dragon Martial Continent is destroyed. We don't need to struggle. We just need to preserve the seeds that are worth nurturing. The surrounding super divine dragons had mixed feelings when they heard this. The Dragon Martial Continent was a very important place for them. Chapter 4494. There were still so many demon commanders that were still wreaking havoc in the Supreme Barrier, wanting to break it open. There were already many openings in the Supreme Barrier, and many void demons had entered the surrounding void. They were probably heading toward the Dragon Martial Continent. Most importantly, the Void Saint Magic Ball that the Azure Sky Calamity Dragon had mentioned was something that even the Supreme Divine Dragons could not face head-on. Since the Void Demon Royal Clan had taken out the Void Saint Magic Ball, it meant that they were determined to break the Dragon Martial Continent. The Void Saint Magic Ball requires the Void Demon Royal Clan's bloodline, and it also needs to devour a lot of Void Demons. This time, they are fully prepared, and we are unable to resist them. We can only retreat, the Azure Sky Calamity Dragon said calmly. Everyone, bring all your talented dragon martial artists, as well as some ordinary dragon emperors. We will retreat from this space. The higher-ups also need our support. Yu Yaji could only sigh when she saw the situation. It was impossible for her to change the decision of the peerless divine dragon. She could only prepare to retreat. Besides, she knew that other than the martial dragon continent, the situation above was not good. Given the current situation, they could only retreat. They could only give up on the dragon martial continent. Yu Yaji immediately made arrangements to bring all the students from Emperor Shi's Dragon Martial Arts Academy away. She also sent a message to the Hidden World Dragon Martial Arts Clan's Super Mystical Dragon Martial Arts Clan, asking them to prepare and bring the Dragon Martial Arts Clan's Dragon Martial Arts Clan away. As for the other Dragon Emperor experts, she could only inform them. She could not force them to leave. After all, the Hidden Dragon Martial Artist Clan knew something about the higher-ups. However, the ordinary Dragon Emperor experts did not know anything about the higher-ups. The Dragon Martial Continent was everything to them. It was easy to imagine how difficult it would be to make them leave and abandon their hometowns. Out of the 10 Dragon Emperors, only 1 or 2 would be willing to leave. In fact, just as she had expected, the Hidden Dragon Martial Artist Clan that she had informed did not have much of an objection. Instead, they planned to leave with their clansmen. However, the Dragon Emperor Kingdom's Dragon Emperors were unwilling to leave. They wanted to protect their Dragon Emperor Kingdom until the Void Monsters completely occupied the Dragon Martial Continent. To them, they were the biggest pillars of the Dragon Emperor's kingdom. Many of them were the only pillars. Once they left, everyone in the Dragon Emperor's kingdom would drown in despair. How tragic would that be? They couldn't bear it. Even if they had to die, they wanted to die in their homeland, on the land they protected. Many of the Dragon Emperor's experts began to give up on protecting the spatial crack and return to the Void Disk. They packed their things and planned to return to the Martial Dragon continent. There were even some students from the Dragon Martial Academy who were unwilling to leave. They came from the Dragon Emperor's kingdom, and many of their relatives were still on the Dragon Martial continent. How could they just leave like that? Many people were willing to stay and use their last bit of strength to protect the Martial Dragon continent. They gave up on protecting the barrier and returned to the Void Disk. One by one, they returned to the Dragon Martial continent. They wanted to take this opportunity to reunite with their loved ones. When they returned to the Dragon Martial continent, they looked up at the sky and saw that above the protective barrier, there was an endless black fog that covered more than half of the sky. Above the entire Dragon Martial continent, the sunlight was blocked, and endless black fog appeared in the sky. That's the power of the Void Saint Magic Ball. It's going to destroy our protective barrier. Many of the Dragon Emperors who knew about the situation had grave expressions on their faces. That was a terrifying black fog that covered the entire sky. It was no wonder that even the Azure Sky Calamity Dragon had said that it would take at least 2 peerless divine dragons to stop the power of the Void Saint Magic Sphere. Unfortunately, the situation up there was even more tense. How could they send 2 peerless divine dragons to the Martial Dragon continent? Even if they were sent, it would be a long battle. If they couldn't return as soon as possible, the situation above would be even more serious. Once the defense above was lost, the Dragon Martial continent would be invaded by the Void Devil race sooner or later. It wouldn't be able to resist for long. Not only the Dragon Martial continent, but hundreds of other Dragon Martial warrior small worlds would also be invaded by the Void Devil race. If they gave up on the Dragon Martial continent now, they would only lose this small world. Therefore, the Dragon of Calamity's decision was not wrong. At least from his point of view, it was not wrong. However, this decision was too unfair to the Dragon Martial continent. There was nothing he could do about it. Every Supreme Divine Dragon was a strategic existence. When the Dragon Martial continent was in danger, the Supreme Divine Dragon's decision was not up to the Dragon of Calamity to decide. Unfortunately, no one knew that the black fog above the Dragon Martial continent didn't only come from the Void Saint Magic Ball. It also came from the Black Dragon consciousness in Kong Shinmu's body. The pitch-black fog covered half the sky. It was as if doomsday had arrived. Everyone on the Dragon Martial continent was panicking. The Dragon of Calamity also felt the power of the Void Saint Magic Ball exploding. He shook his head. It seemed that the Dragon Martial continent was completely hopeless. He was waiting for the geniuses of the 4 Dragon Martial Academies to gather and preserve the seed of hope. Finally, from the direction of the sky barrier above the Martial Dragon continent, a deafening cracking sound came from the horizon. It seemed like a gap had been torn open in the Martial Dragon continent sky barrier. The blue sky calamity dragon shuddered. He could sense that a portion of his power in the barrier in the sky had been torn apart. It seemed like a gap had been torn open in the barrier. The dragon of calamity had naturally participated in the creation of the barrier. At this moment, the azure sky tribulation dragon was feeling complicated. After all, the martial dragon continent was his subordinate space. Although it didn't belong to him alone, it was shared by the 4 peerless divine dragons. He still had feelings for the martial dragon continent. Many of his subordinates had been nurtured by the dragon martial continent. They had become his left and right arms. He was reluctant to give up the dragon martial continent just like that. It was very painful. If he had a choice, why would he give up on the dragon martial continent? The barrier has been broken. The dragon martial continent is gone. The blue sky tribulation dragon sighed. At the same time, near the gap in the barrier. Chapter 4495. The 2 behemoths had both exhausted their strength and fallen into a deep slumber. The power that they had unleashed had already sent Xiao Yuhua and the other 3 dozens of miles away. Xiao Yuhua and the others had no idea what had happened after that. As for Kong Shinmu, he was the Black Dragon's consciousness, the main body that the heaven-devouring divine dragon had borrowed. Without Kong Shinmu, there would be no heaven-devouring divine dragon. Hence, Kong Shinmu remained where he was. The Void Demon Princess had originally been protected by the Void Saint Magic Sphere, but the final blow from both sides had knocked her unconscious. If not for the protection of the Void Saint Magic Sphere, the Void Demon Princess would have most likely died. As for the male Void Demon who had been following her, he had already been completely devoured not long after the Black Dragon's consciousness had awakened. However, there were some things on the male Void Demon's body that had not been devoured. For example, a demon weapon, as well as the demon cores of several powerful demons. These demon cores were healing resources for the Void Demon race. Void demons were basically livestock raised by the Void Demon race. The demon cores of Void demons were sacred healing medicines for the Void Demon race. Hence, the Void Demon race would definitely have some on them. There were even some ancient books with profound demonic techniques that had been left in the void. Before the Black Dragon's consciousness had fallen into a deep slumber, it had collected all these things and thrown them into the storage space of Kong Shinmu's dragon-marked blood pendant. There was no doubt that these things were extremely precious to Kong Shinmu. If he used them to exchange for demon hunting points, he would probably be able to exchange them for a lot of cultivation resources that would be useful to him. Hence, the Black Dragon's consciousness clearly wanted Kong Shinmu to grow faster. Right now, Kong Shinmu's strength was just too weak. When the Black Dragon's consciousness and the Void Saint Magic Sphere had fallen into a deep slumber, Kong Shinmu and the Void Demon Princess had also fallen unconscious. The energy fluctuations in the area finally dissipated. However, a powerful suction force came from the huge gap in the Martial Dragon Continent's barrier that had been destroyed. After all, the Martial Dragon Continent was right below the barrier. Originally, there was a barrier in the sky, so there was no gravity where they were. However, a gap had appeared in the barrier, and a suction force came from the gap that Jiang Shenwu and the others were in, trying to suck them into the Martial Dragon Continent. Just like in the Martial Dragon Continent, if one could not transform into a dragon martial artist, ordinary people could only walk or run on the ground. They could not fly because of gravity. At this moment, the unconscious Kong Shinmu and the Void Devil Princess were pulled down by the gravity and fell toward the Martial Dragon Continent. He fell from the sky and landed on the Dragon Martial Continent. This location was in the north of the Martial Dragon Continent, and the Northern Desolate Region's Dragon Martial Academy was the closest to the 4 Dragon Martial Academies. The 2 of them fell down, and it took at least the time it took for an incense stick to burn before they landed in the crater of a volcano. 2 cracks appeared on the ground, and they fell into the underground passage filled with flowing magma. Kong Shinmu's physical body was strong, and he was fine even if he was surrounded by magma. As for the Void Devil Princess, she had some treasures on her. The moment she fell into the magma, demonic chi protected her, and she flowed along the magma. Kong Shinmu also flowed into the depths of the magma river. 3 days and 3 nights had passed. Kong Shinmu was the first to wake up. The moment he woke up, he found himself in a sea of scorching magma. His clothes had already been burned to ashes, and he was completely naked. What had happened before? Kong Shinmu felt a headache coming on. He thought about it carefully, and he had a rough idea of what had happened. The black dragon's consciousness had appeared and fought with the void devil ball. In the end, both sides had exhausted their energy and fallen into a deep slumber. The void devil ball had not forgotten to blast a hole in the barrier in the sky. However, it made sense. After such an intense battle, if the Void Saint Magic Ball hadn't blasted an opening and allowed the Void Devil Princess to fall onto the Martial Dragon continent, the Dragon Martialist powerhouses would have captured the Void Devil Princess with a single glance. Now that they had fallen into the magma river below the volcano, no one would be able to find them. I wonder what's the situation outside? Kong Shin-mu was a little puzzled. He did not know that the Azure Sky Calamity Dragon had already ordered a retreat. But now that the threat from the Void Devil Ball had been resolved, even if they had decided to retreat, they would quickly decide to defend the Martial Dragon continent once they discovered the situation here. Is that the Void Devil Princess? Kong Shin-mu climbed out of the magma pool, and in the blink of an eye, he saw the Void Devil Princess, who was protected by a layer of demonic chi. She still had that graceful figure and that charming and beautiful face. But now, the demonic aura that had been protecting her had almost dissipated. Even a large part of her tight black clothes had been burned by the magma. Her originally fair skin had now been burnt to a crisp. Clearly, the Void Devil Princess's physique was not strong. It seems like her cultivation base is not high. Perhaps she's just an ordinary Void Devil royalty. She's not strong, which is why she needs the protection of that man from before. Kong Shin-mu thought to himself. He thought for a moment. Since the Void Devil Princess was not strong, he might as well save her first. Perhaps he could ask her some secrets about the Void Devil race. He immediately went forward and picked up the Void Devil Princess body from the magma pool. At that moment, the protective demonic chi around the Void Devil Princess's body had been completely consumed, and her tight black clothes had been burned to ashes by the magma. Her snow-white body was actually held in Jiang Shunwu's arms without a single thread of clothing. Under such circumstances, a young man like Kong Shin-mu naturally felt a little restless. Fortunately, his tolerance was extraordinary, not to mention that the other party was the Void Devil race's princess. With regards to her, Kong Shin-mu naturally could not really do anything to her. In fact, he had no interest in her at all. It was just that as a hot-blooded young man, with such a beautiful woman in his arms, he naturally felt a little restless. He raised his hand and took out 2 black robes from the dragon-marked blood pendant space. He draped one over himself and the other over the Void Devil Princess. Then, he used his devouring power to heal the burned parts of her body. Finally, he took out some tough ropes made from demon beast tendons from the dragon-marked blood pendant space and tied the Void Devil Princess to a pitch-black rock. This pitch-black rock had been burned to ashes by the flowing magma. Kong Shin-mu began to search the Void Devil Princess's body. She was wearing some jewelry, and there was definitely a storage treasure among them. Kong Shin-mu could not give her a chance to turn the tables, so he had to take everything from her in advance. Chapter 4496. Very quickly, Kong Shin-mu found a lot of things from the Void Devil Princess's body. Among them, there were as many as 30 high-ranked Devil Generals' Devil Cores. If these were exchanged for demon hunting points, how much would it be? When Kong Shin-mu saw these 30 high-ranked Devil Generals' Devil Cores, even his eyes turned red. Following that, he also found 3 extremely high-grade demonic weapons from the storage crystal pendant of the Void Demon Princess. Each of these 3 devil weapons contained extremely dense devil chi. Taking them out alone, the devil chi surrounding them could make Kong Shin-mu unable to breathe. These devil weapons are probably at the level of a divine dragon weapon, or even higher. Kong Shin-mu thought to himself. He had never seen a divine dragon weapon before. He only knew that a heaven-grade dragon weapon definitely could not have such power. As for whether these 3 devil weapons were equivalent to a divine dragon weapon, Kong Shin-mu was not too sure. In any case, they were very precious. Who knew how many devil hunting points he could exchange for? Of these 3 devil weapons, one was a short dagger, embedded with 99 pitch-black crystals, which together formed a devil chi formation. The other was a ring, but she did not wear it on her hand. Instead, it was placed in the storage pendant. This ring seemed to contain some spatial power, but Kong Shin-mu did not know how to use it. In any case, the formation on it was activated by devil chi, and there was no devil chi in Kong Shin-mu's body. The last one was a string of black beads. These beads were completely smooth, without any luster, and were pitch black. There were a total of 19 beads, and they were strung together. Each black bead was engraved with some devil chi runes, and he did not know what they meant or what they were used for. 3 devil weapons, each of them priceless. I've made a killing this time. Kong Shinmu carefully kept the 3 devil weapons, and of course, the 30 high-ranked devil generals' devil cores. Other than that, there were also 7 demon cores, which were definitely demon commander level demon cores. The value of these 7 demon cores was even higher. Kong Shinmu immediately kept them. No matter what, even if he returned to the Dragon Martial Academy, these things could not be exposed for the time being. 7 demon commanders' demon cores and 30 high-ranked demon generals' demon cores might be used to heal the Void Demon Princess, but to Kong Shinmu, it was a huge pile of demon hunting points. There were 3 demonic weapons and a nameplate that represented the identity of the Void Demon Imperial clan. It was made of black gold and had some demonic chi runes on it to prevent counterfeiting. Just this material was extremely precious and ordinary people would not be able to obtain it. At this time, Kong Shinmu glanced at the dragon mark blood pendant space. He discovered that many of the things on the man from the Void Devil race had been seized by the Black Dragon's consciousness and thrown into the space. There were a total of 9 high-ranked demon generals' demon cores, 2 demon commanders' demon cores, and a demonic weapon with a black dagger. This dagger gave off a dark and bloody aura. Unlike the princess dagger, it was a demonic weapon of massacre and looked much more powerful. Of course, the grade might be similar. Perhaps the princess demon weapon dagger had some special function that Kong Shinmu did not know about. No matter what, when the Void Demon Princess wakes up, these things must not appear in front of her, in case she has some special means to activate them and escape. Kong Shinmu thought to himself. He put everything away and began to size up the Void Demon Princess in front of him. It had to be said that the princess's face was very exquisite. Her facial features were perfect, and she was definitely a beauty that could topple nations. Even compared to Yu Yaji and Yu Tianchong, she was not inferior at all, and might even be superior. The key was her identity. She was the princess of the Void Demon race. Just by looking at the fact that the Void Demon race could contend with the Supreme Divine Dragon, it could be seen that the overall strength of the Void Demon race was extremely strong. The status of the princess of such a race could be imagined. The elegant temperament that she had been nurtured in the environment she had been living in was even more attractive than Yu Yaji and the others. Perhaps because she cultivated the power of the ancient demon god's bloodline, the princess temperament was elegant and charming. She was full of an attractive aura. When she was awake, every move she made was extremely moving. She could be said to be the most exquisite woman in the world. Unfortunately, Kong Shinmu was not interested in this. He just wanted to control the princess and learn more about the Void Demon race from her mouth. Then, he took the most important thing in his hand. That was the Void Demon race's sacred object, the Void Saint Demon Ball. This black ball was smooth, but unfortunately, the power contained in it had been exhausted, and the consciousness inside had fallen into a deep sleep. Jiang Xinwu held it in his hand and tossed it around, but it didn't react at all. He studied it for a while, but he could not find anything strange. He could only throw it into the dragon-marked blood pendant space. Kong Shinmu had brought many things with him in the dragon-marked blood pendant space. At this moment, after he searched the Void Demon Princess body and confirmed that there was nothing on her that could pose a threat, he took out a bucket of water from the dragon-marked blood pendant and poured it on the Void Demon Princess face. Instantly, the Void Demon Princess body was completely soaked in water. Her wet black robe clung tightly to her alluring curves, making her body look extremely seductive. After being splashed with clear water, the Void Demon Princess finally woke up. 3 days after the sky barrier was breached. Originally, the Clear Sky Tribulation Dragon wanted to retreat with everyone. However, a day had passed, and there was no news from the Dragon Martial Continent. On the other hand, the Void Demons around the Supreme Barrier seemed to be panicking. The Clear Sky Tribulation Dragon grabbed a demon general and directly plucked its memories. It discovered that there seemed to be something wrong with the Void Saint Demon Ball. Only then did it know that something had happened to the sky barrier. He quickly led his people over, only to discover that there was no Void Holy Magic Ball at the gap in the barrier, nor were there any Void monsters. It was as if nothing existed. It was just a crack in the barrier in the sky. The Clear Sky Tribulation Dragon did not dare to believe this. Had the Void Saint Demon Ball been dealt with by something? Soon, he had people spread out to search, and they found the unconscious Xiao Yuhua and the other three. After asking them, he learned that a powerful mystical dragon had appeared and was fighting with the Void Saint Devil Sphere. It seemed to be suppressing the Void Saint Devil Sphere. As for the location of the powerful divine dragon and the Void Saint Demon Ball, no one knew. Chapter 4497. Move the void disk over and guard this gap in the sky. Under the command of the Blue Sky Tribulation Dragon, the void disk was moved to the gap, and it was finally blocked. In the void outside, countless void demonic creatures had already rushed out of the Supreme Barrier and were charging toward the sky barrier of the Martial Dragon continent. However, without the Void Saint Magic Sphere, it would be impossible for them to break through the barrier. The void disk was protected by a complete Supreme Barrier. Due to its small size, its defense was extremely strong. After the void disk blocked the gap, the Dragon Emperor powerhouses and students of the Dragon Martial Academy, who were preparing to retreat, all returned to guard the void disk. The offices of the 4 academies faced the Dragon Martial continent below. On the other side, it faced the endless void. In the starry sky, there would constantly be some void demonic creatures attacking, but with the supreme boundary of the void disk and the many powerful dragon martialists guarding it, these void demonic creatures were really unable to break through the defense of the void disk. Even if a demon general came, it would not be able to break through the void disk. Only then did the Dragon of Calamity feel relieved. He temporarily arranged for the deans of the 4 academies and 2 senior super mystical dragons to stay on the void disk to guard it. As for himself, he definitely had to return to the surface to fight against the main force of the void devil race. The situation in the Dragon Martial continent started to stabilize. However, no one knew that it was all because of Kong Shinmu. Xiao Yuhua and the others were also very smart. In order to not bring trouble to Kong Shinmu, they only said that a powerful black dragon had appeared and fought against the Void Saint Magic Ball. They did not know what the final outcome was. As for Kong Shinmu, they said that he had left the protective crystal barrier to save them. They did not know where he was now. Ran was most worried about Kong Shinmu. After the situation stabilized, she directly flew down from the gap in the sky barrier. She planned to find traces of Kong Shinmu step by step. At this moment, in the underground lava tunnel, Kong Shinmu splashed some water on the Void Devil Princess to wake her up, intending to ask some questions. But the Void Devil Princess had a confused look on her face after waking up. Her exquisite and perfect facial features were filled with an innocent look of bewilderment. Where is this place? Who am I? Why am I here? It's so hot. Of course it would be hot next to the underground magma pool. However, when Kong Shinmu saw this, he felt a little depressed. It seemed like this Void Devil Princess had lost her memory. Now that everything, including the Void Saint Magic Ball, had been plundered by Kong Shinmu, this Void Devil Princess really didn't have anything to rely on. You don't remember who you are? Kong Shinmu looked straight into her eyes and said. The Void Devil race might be sinister and cunning. Now that they had discovered that they were in a desperate situation, it was possible that they had pretended to have amnesia. Who am I? The Void Devil Princess had a blank look on her face. It did not seem fake. She lowered her head to look at the wet black robe draped over her body, as if she was feeling a little uncomfortable. She extended her hand, wanting to take off the black robe. She had only taken it off halfway when her curvaceous snow-white figure was revealed. However, she was stopped by Jiang Shenwu. Had this Void Devil Princess really lost her memory? She was actually taking off her clothes in front of a young man like him. Only then did Kong Shinmu believe that this Void Devil Princess had really lost her memory. This was going to be troublesome. How was he going to deal with this fellow? Logically speaking, this Void Devil Princess was a criminal who wanted to destroy the Martial Dragon continent. Kong Shinmu definitely had to punish her, and the best way was to hand her over to the Dragon Martial Academy's dean and the others to deal with. But now, this Void Devil Princess had actually lost her memory. There was not much value to be extracted from her. Should he think of a way to restore her memory and deal with her properly? Just as Kong Shinmu was pondering this, he suddenly saw 5 pitch-black dots light up under his feet. These 5 pitch-black dots of light formed a small demon chi array. Demon chi swirled and spread out from the array, enveloping Jiang Shenwu's entire body. Demonic blood sealing formation. A delicate rebuke came from the mouth of the Void Devil Princess. Her alluring body was tied up and she was unable to move. However, her eyes were filled with anxiety as she stared at Jiang Xinwu, who was enveloped by the demon blood sealing formation. You! Kong Xinmu's expression changed slightly. This Void Devil Princess was indeed pretending to have amnesia. She had taken the opportunity to use the tip of her toes to secretly release demonic energy while he was distracted. Then, she drew a small devil blood sealing array around him. However, the Void Devil Princess was still very nervous. This was because the demonic blood sealing formation was the only method she could use. The demonic blood sealing formation's effect was to seal the Void Devil clan and activate the ancient demon god's bloodline. I wonder if it's useful against dragon practitioners? In the next moment, Kong Xinmu wanted to use his devouring power to devour the power of the demonic blood sealing formation, but he discovered that after the black dragon's consciousness fell asleep, his devouring power had also been sealed. He could not use it at all. He was probably the first dragon practitioner in history to be unable to use his innate ability. Or rather, his devouring ability originally belonged to the black dragon's consciousness and not him. He could not use his devouring power. Under such circumstances, the demonic blood-sealing formation's power instantly invaded his body and sealed the divine dragon bloodline in his body. Dragon transformation. Dragon transformation. With his divine dragon bloodline sealed, Kong Xinmu found that he could not transform into a dragon even if he wanted to. The bloodline in his body had completely quieted down, and the demonic chi threads of the demonic blood-sealing formation wrapped around his meridians, preventing him from breaking free. He could not transform into a dragon. He could not use his devouring power. The current Kong Xinmu's battle prowess had instantly dropped. He only had his draconic body-refining martial technique left, which allowed his defense and physical body to remain strong. Kong Xinmu stood up and looked at the Void Devil Princess, who was still bound by the demonic beast ropes. His expression instantly turned cold. You what? The Void Devil Princess breathed a sigh of relief when she saw that Kong Xinmu could not transform into a dragon. However, she was still very nervous. She was not strong to begin with, and her cultivation was very low. If not for the Void Saint Devil Ball listening to her, she would not have had the chance to come to the martial dragon continent. She bared her teeth at Kong Xinmu. Hurry up and release me. Otherwise, I will activate the demonic blood-sealing formation and seal your bloodline power forever. If you could do that, you would have done it long ago. Why threaten me? Kong Xinmu sneered. He did not believe that the Void Devil Princess had any other tricks up her sleeves. So what if she could seal his bloodline power and prevent him from transforming into a dragon? Chapter 4498. Kong Xinmu walked toward the Void Demon Princess step by step. The Void Demon Princess' menacing expression quickly turned into one of fear. However, when she thought about her situation and realized that she really shouldn't be afraid, she mustered up her courage and puffed out her chest. What do you want to do? The Void Demonic Princess shouted. As the princess of the demonic race, she still exuded a dignified aura. Unfortunately, under such circumstances, she could not suppress Kong Xinmu at all. Kong Xinmu stepped forward, grabbed her, and tore off the rope on her body. Although the rope was tough, it could not compare to Kong Xinmu's physical strength. As for the Void Demon Princess, Kong Xinmu lifted her up like a little chick. Your Void Demon race invaded the martial dragon continent and even tried to destroy it. Since you have fallen into my hands, I will not let you off easily. Kong Xinmu said coldly, follow me back to the Dragon Martial Academy and await your punishment. Humph. The Void Demon Princess did not feel guilty at all. She even said fiercely, what invasion? What destruction? We just want to take back the space that belongs to us. This martial dragon continent of yours was clearly the territory of our demon god race. Also, what Void Demon race? We are the descendants of the ancient demon god race. We have the bloodline of the ancient demon god. Her words were powerful and resonant. It didn't seem like she was faking it. You said that this is the territory of your demon god race, and this is the territory of your demon god race? Kong Xinmu sneered. He did not believe this nonsense at all. Humph. This place is a great secret of our demon god race. Unfortunately, It was snatched away by your dragon martial artists. The Void Demon Princess sneered. On this continent, there is a place called the Dragon Sealing Abyss. It is a seal set up by our ancient demon god to seal the ancient dragon of annihilation. It's a pity that you didn't know anything at all and even allowed the ancient dragon of annihilation to escape. If we don't deal with it carefully, not only our demon god clan, but even your dragon god clan will be destroyed. There won't be an inch of your homeland left intact in the entire world. The ancient dragon of annihilation? Kong Shinmu's expression changed slightly. Since the Void Devil Princess mentioned the sealing dragon abyss, it was unlikely that she was lying. After all, the existence of the sealing dragon abyss was something that even the supreme dragon god didn't seem to care about. That place was mysterious and dangerous. Kong Shinmu had only been there once. His father was imprisoned there, and he was warned that he had to reach the level of the ancestral dragon before he could go there to save him. It could be seen that the existence of the dragon sealing abyss surpassed the level of the supreme divine dragon. That's right. You probably don't know about the ancient dragon of annihilation, do you? The Void Demonic Princess glanced at Kong Shinmu. The divine dragon's consciousness in your body is the ancient dragon of annihilation. It is said that this guy can devour everything and destroy everything. Countless worlds have been destroyed in his hands. In the end, it was sealed in the sealing dragon abyss by our ancestors of the ancient demon god. Unfortunately, that happened a long time ago. Since the dragon god clan robbed our territory 15,000 years ago, the sealing dragon abyss has lost its guardian. There are too many corpses buried under the dragon martial continent. Some of them belong to our demon god clan, and some of them belong to your dragon god clan. Do you know? When these words were said, Kong Shinmu's expression changed slightly. He recalled that he had indeed come across some divine dragon tombs before. There were too many powerful divine dragons buried in them. Even dragon martial artists at the level of Sky Dragon and Divine Dragon were buried in the tens of thousands. If it was just an ordinary war between the Dragon Emperor Kingdom, it would be impossible for so many dragon martial artists to die, nor would they die so concentrated. At that time, Kong Shinmu had thought that there might have been an extremely tragic war that had broken out on the dragon martial continent. Now, according to the Void Demonic Princess, it was 15,000 years ago that the dragon god clan that he belonged to invaded the demon god clan and took away the dragon martial continent. That war must have been very tragic. And after this continent was changed to the dragon martial continent, the corpses of the Void Demonic race were naturally cleaned up. As for the dragon martial artists who had sacrificed themselves, their corpses were buried nearby, becoming one divine dragon tomb after another. Kong Shinmu did not know about this history. But from what the Void Demonic Princess said, it did not seem like she was lying. Because not many people knew about the sealing dragon abyss, not to mention a demon god clan like her who had never been to the dragon martial continent. Of course, it could not be ruled out that the Void Demonic race had been studying the sealing dragon abyss and wanted to use it to achieve some ulterior motives. In short, it was impossible for Kong Shinmu to bring her to the sealing dragon abyss. But it was not very appropriate to return to the Dragon Martial Academy just like that. If he brought her back to the Dragon Martial Academy, she would definitely be dealt with, and Kong Shinmu would probably never know the truth of the ancient times. After all, the black dragon's consciousness in his body was what worried him. Especially now that he heard the Void Demonic Princess say that the black dragon's consciousness was actually the ancient world destroyer dragon. This was even more terrifying. If he raised it, wouldn't the entire world be destroyed in the future? Kong Shinmu thought about it and decided not to bring her back for the time being. He wanted to get to the bottom of things first. There were many details, and if they were not true, she would not be able to make up so many things. There would definitely be flaws in her story. He had to first figure out whether what she said was true or not before deciding how to deal with her. Let's go. Kong Shinmu carried her with one hand and walked along the underground magma tunnel, heading to the surface. This underground tunnel was very complicated, and sometimes there was no path at all. Fortunately, Kong Shinmu's physical strength was very strong. Even though he was sealed by the demonic blood-sealing array and could not transform into a dragon, he could still easily break through some of the obstructed rock strata and continue upwards. The Void Demonic Princess would definitely not remove the demonic blood-sealing array for him, and he could not be bothered. Anyway, with just his physical strength, he could firmly suppress this young girl. The Void Demon Princess was held in Jiang Shenwu's hand, and her entire body was swaying. She was dripping wet and looked incredibly alluring, making her feel quite angry. One had to know that in the demon god race, she was a little princess who was doted on by thousands of people. When had she ever been violated like this? In particular, she had even pretended to take off her clothes just to have a chance to plot against Kong Shin-mu. She had never done such a humiliating thing before. However, she was still very happy that the demonic blood-sealing array had an effect on Kong Shin-mu. At least now, even if Kong Shin-mu wanted to kill her, it would not be so easy. She still had a trump card. You're tuning in to the Xueqi's Martial Arts Saga YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.